Hey, welcome back to Métropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's October 25th, 2025. It's the weekend after the 2025 World Championship in Edinburgh. We're back here in Montreal. It's been a bit. How's everyone doing? It's honestly been a bit since we've been back on this channel. Hopefully you're doing well. For those who don't know, there's no stream on Thursday. Sorry, there's no communication about it, but I lack those channels of communication. You might be able to tell from my voice, I'm a bit under the weather. So I came back from Edinburgh on Monday afternoon with a sore throat, which like just happens from commentary, and that developed into just being kind of unwell. So come Thursday, it didn't seem like a good idea to do a stream. And today I'm definitely a lot better. My voice is a bit weird. I'm a bit congested. So we're going to try and do our best to dodge those sounds on the microphone. But I also have to do a better job talking from my stomach, from my chest. I think that'll help me overall. How's everyone doing? It's good to be back. We've been off for 2 Thursdays, but we've been on another stream. If you don't know, it was the World Championship last week, so you can go down to Null Signal Games YouTube channel, and you can go find some good old World stream where I appear on it alongside some really nice people. Today, how's it going, chat? I'm gonna catch up in just a second. Today we're going to do a bit of a story time. I don't think we're going to be playing a lot of Netrunner, but just like talking about how the weekend went and just kind of sharing our experience with it, which like, it's not the most important experience. It's just unexperienced. That might be interesting. It's like 100% the same progression I had over the past few days. Concrete is a thing. Yeah. I came back and I'm like, oh, just a sore throat. That's okay. That makes sense. That always happens. And then I just got like worse. I'm like, so I had Tuesday off. Luckily, I was meant to stream on Tuesday. Nick, also great to see you. Originally, I was meant to take Tuesday off to do like an afternoon stream to do a Worlds recap. That was my full intention. So I took a vacation day and it turned out just to be a sick day, which sucks. That's a bad way to take a vacation day. And then like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I've been working from home. I haven't been well, but we're good. Reading cards is OP, please ban. So how's it going? It's good to meet you in Crown Servers. Your refuse to read all cards is quite funny. We'll get to that. That one did, I think, tilt us a bit, but we'll get to that. It was good to see you as well. Round 1 on stream. Anyways, if you haven't watched World's gameplay and you are like kind of keeping that as a little secret to catch up on, we're going to be talking a lot about the narratives and the happenings of what's going on top tables and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, like that's not the point of this stream. This stream is just to talk about like our personal experience interacting with Worlds. But if you for some reason want to like keep the Worlds results hidden, I would recommend popping out for a bit and then maybe coming back to this VOD at some point later, because we will be spoiling results and stuff like that. I already feel so much like I need to blow my nose, and I think that's going to be nonstop. I already sound strange. How's everyone doing? Yeah, Wilson, thanks, Bombers. I should be out of it in a day or two. Jai, good to see you. Anyway, Andre, consider this my official apology for the unintentional COS torpedo bombing. Jai, look, like there's no way you're not getting roasted on this stream, and with all due love, can you please just confirm that you were sent to torpedo our team by your other team? Did Team A say, okay, look, Jai, this is really easy. We have some strong competitors. We're going to send you in as a mole, and then you're going to ruin Team B. You're going to take as many wins away from them as you can. And then once you return, like the boomerang you are, we're going to go undefeated. You just let me know. Was that intentional or did that just happen to happen? Surprise Irish stream. Yo, good time. How's it going? Good to see you as well at Worlds. I'm gonna catch up quickly on chat. Hopefully everyone's well and everyone's travel is good. I didn't get to spend a lot of time in Edinburgh. I was there luckily like 2 years ago, and the place is lovely. But I did this like really crummy idea where, because of new work and not a lot of vacation days, I got in on like Thursday morning, left Monday morning. So I didn't have enough time to do some of the cool like touristy stuff that I wish I did. So hopefully you were there a bit longer, y'all, and enjoyed Edinburgh. It's a fantastic place. Hey, awesome case. Love playing LEO Worlds is awesome. People didn't bring AUCO versus me. There was a fair bit of AUCO. I'm guessing it was like the 3rd or 2nd most represented corporation. I know you said you didn't run into a lot. That might be some good luck. Like there's some players who played into almost no LEO, which is also like pretty good luck. But like it sounds like a lot, like 70 LEO players, but there's also like 360 players. So you could see a world in which you just don't run into it at all. I def undercooked this world, but what can you do? Yo, Stefano, how's it going? Good to see you too. EU-friendly stream, I can only watch for 20 minutes. Pain. I'm sorry. We'll be around for a couple hours. Maybe it makes sense. But yeah, we want to do more stream times. I think that was like a big thing because I ran into so many nice people. We'll get back to this point, I reckon, at some point. But a lot of people being like, hey, I can't watch your streams anymore because we run into a lot of like EU folks and like the Thursday night streams here just don't make sense. They happen like 3 to 5 in the morning. To those folks, really sorry that we can't stream Tuesday afternoons, which made a lot of sense. We'll try and make it make sense. Maybe we're going to be streaming more on weekends in the future once things like calm down, which I think we're almost there. But yeah, that's like super real. I feel the same way. So bummer about that. Hey, Lazy. Yo, you got your name handle. How's it going, Diogen? Saturday stream. So glad to have it. Hey, hopefully you're well. It's been a minute. Hey, Brennan. It has been forever. Hopefully you're good. Hey, Cold Lava. Nice to live vicariously through the stories. I think that's the idea. Hopefully you're well. Did you do something cool this last couple week or so? Happy Saturday, Den Man. Perfect time for stream. Hey, Leon. Love it. Worlds is so much fun. Missing everyone already. Leon, are you the Leon I met? The nice Leon I met? If not, you could be any Leon. That would probably be fine too. Hanlon's raids are never attributed to malice, but is sufficiently explained by incompetence and JNet lag. Hey, glad to see you, Edinburgh rules. I wish I got to spend more time exploring the city. Yeah, the folks I was staying with, they stayed for one more day than I did. And on Monday, they went and did like, they climbed the Arthur's throne. I forget what it's called, which was like right beside where we were staying. They went to the castle, which, yeah, I guess for context, last Worlds in Europe was Barcelona. And I went with my partner. And so we were in Barcelona for a week. We stayed a couple days after Worlds wrapped to do some like Barcelona tourism. And then we were there in Europe, which like we haven't been in Europe in years since the pandemic. So we're like, well, got a Ryanair flight for like 50 pounds, 50 euros. And then we flew to Edinburgh and we stayed a week in Edinburgh and it was gorgeous. We actually like did the natural European World Championship tourism. And we stayed a week in Edinburgh. We did all the cool stuff. We went to the castle. We did a lot more than that, but we did all the touristy stuff we wanted to do. Arthur's seat was incredible. I've heard good stuff. Arthur's seat, Arthur's throne. Hey, Brightsides, good to see you. Yeah, it was good. So like, I don't feel like I missed out too much. This year, I wasn't 100% sure I was going to go to Worlds, and it being in Edinburgh was both like a boon and also a bit of a con. Because, you want to pay a lot of money to go somewhere as a tourist, but maybe somewhere you haven't gone before. But it's also a place I've been before and I'd love to revisit. This year, my partner decided like, okay, we originally, when we heard Worlds was announced in Edinburgh earlier this year, we like booked a hotel that we could refund. And we decided like, hey, it's been a pretty expensive year overall. We just, bought a place. So Maddie ended up canceling the hotel and she decided not to go because she's like, if I'm going and you're there for 5 days and it's like literally 4.5 days of Worlds, I'll not see you. We've been there before. So maybe we'll save some money and do it again. Do a vacation sometime later. So yeah, been spent a lot of time seeing the town, which was unfortunate. And Edinburgh was awesome for traveling. Also climbing the Highlands was dope. Hey, Wenjong, when you said going live just now, I assumed it was Marvel Champions, and hindsight, of course, it got to be Worlds Reap. Yo, what up, Wenjong? We're going to be doing some Marvel Champions tomorrow. That's like a Sunday morning game for me. Hey, RFL, how's it going? Thanks for your videos about attending organized events. Attend my first Worlds and have a fantastic time. Yo, thank you. You know what? I got that feedback from someone else too. Maybe you're the same person, but I totally did not plug this, but I have a video up on the channel, YouTube, Métropole Grid, going to your first big event. It's called something like this. Yeah, big tournament advice. I made this before, I think, the World Championship in Toronto back in 2022. And, well, let's not watch this ad, but the short and long is I'll put a link in the description. Yeah, it's like a bit of advice if you never been to a big event, like what you should keep in mind. I probably should have advertised this a bit sooner. But like the basic stuff, like, bringing snacks and earplugs and making sure you have water and making sure you have extra sleeves and stuff like that. Hopefully that turned out well, because I think there's a lot of people, this was the Worlds was their first major event, let alone first event. Hopefully that landed well. Hey, Gilhar, good to meet you in person too. I was really looking forward to that. We're launching a French-speaking Netrunner channel tomorrow night. Oh, no way. What's it called? When you have the link, hit me up and I'll put it in the YouTube description. That's sick. Excellent commentary, Worlds. I wish I could attend. Thank you, Seabeast. That's very kind. Wonderful getting to meet you at Worlds. Slander and lies. Thanks for everything. Hey, cheers. That's very kind. It's nice to meet you too. Wizard's bench. Hey, Cursor. Dude, Arthur's seat. I don't know the name. Hey, Dave. I am nicely on sometimes. It's lovely to meet you. Highlight the weekend along with painting. That was also awesome. The painting upstairs is really, really cool. I like get stressed about painting. I didn't do it, but I know Eric Hayden did. I sat down with him for a bit while he's painting. I was sitting there with Sandarin. Sandarin painted some really good stuff. I saw a photo in Discord about it. It looks like I missed Patrick by an hour in Arthur's Seat. Oh, he made it up. I barely saw Patrick this weekend. I don't know. Patrick was staying, I think, on his own. But I didn't get to see or hang out with Patrick a lot this weekend, which is a bit of a bummer. We hung out between rounds a bit. But it was like Monday. He was like, I'm up to go see Arthur's Seat. I'm like, yo, have fun. It looks great. But I didn't see any photos. I asked him to take some photos. So maybe I'll see some photos later. Yo, Rahi, how's it going? Congratulations too. Rahi kicked ass at Worlds. I did not get to see any of the runner play, but Rahi, your streamed corp game was like just kind of perfect jazz. It seemed like an ugly start and you just clawed it back. The ADT fires were perfect. The known information was perfect. The seamless launches fed through. You couldn't ask for better. It was such a good game. Really well played. And I think you made top 32, I want to say. If you don't know Rahi was wearing like a lab coat with like the Rahi LED badge. And if you don't know Rahi's the person behind the Cyberfeeder plugin that you get to watch every day when I play JNet on Firefox. It's really, really good. Stop a bit short of top of Arthur's Seat. I didn't want a Montreal Metro repeat at the top of the big old hill. Yeah, no, for sure. I'll probably do my own Worlds recap stream when I get back to SG alongside the couple of replay reviews I owe people. Jai, where are you right now without like hard doxing you? Like, are you still traveling? I enjoyed going for a ghost tour for my touristy bit, and there was like 5 different ghost tours fighting for space in the Greyfriars Kirkyard. Oh, that was the thing that I know my partner and I considered, because there's like a big ghost tour culture in that sort of area, the old town of Edinburgh. I don't know which ones are good or which ones are like schlocky. I'm assuming there's somewhere in the middle. I don't know how I feel about these sort of things. It's like the Loch Ness Monster too. It's like, I get it. It's cultural. It's fun. But also I feel like I'm supporting charlatans. Like I don't know what to do about ghost tours. I think the historical part is cool. But the part that says like, yeah, there's ghosts in here, give me your money is like, I don't know. It doesn't sit with me well. Hey, SRN, how's it going? Hopefully you're well. Catching up. It sounds like it caught some credit. Yeah, I did. I got sick. I definitely got sick on the way back. Luckily, I was maybe within the minority. Like I stayed in an Airbnb, the Snare B&B, with, I think there was 7 of us, no, 6 of us. And I think only 2 of us got sick, but after we left, and like my roommate didn't get sick, but I think 1 or 2 of us came down with something. But I don't think it was the majority. Eric did for Bitmas and Dar and ended up finishing his ID. Yeah, he told me, he showed me. Don't let Eric take full credit. No, Eric showed me the before and after, because I don't think he was happy with what he did. Hey, Don, Worlds was awesome. Even my runner performed awfully. So where are bet runner results at? I honestly don't know. I didn't do bet runner. I'm imagining somebody did well. This bet runner, for those who don't know the narrative, a lot of, I want to say with all due respect, like 1-point picks. Or no, that's not it. It's probably like 1-point and 3-point picks did really well at bet runner. But the biggest thing is like this top cut was a bit of an upset, like the top 16. Like this top 16 had no players from last year's top 16. And while there was still, obviously it was full of good players, there was not that many good players. Like a lot of the people that people would have bet a lot of money on didn't make it. Like the conversion rate on some of the stronger players was surprising. Like none of the 12-point players made it. I don't think any of the 8-point players made it. Maybe even none of the 6-point players made it. It was like a very fresh, it was very European heavy cut too, as much as there were some North Americans. But yeah, it was a stellar cut, that's for sure. But it was weird. It was like the first time, I think in the top 16 in a long time, where this world's top 16 had no players from the previous world's top 16 in it. Oh, Davs was 8. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, Davs was 8. I thought Davs was 6. Okay, that's good. Yeah, Davs, that makes sense. I also want to say the Netrunner World's pronoun meta fucking sucked. Holy shit, did it fall apart. I don't know what happened, but this top 16 was entirely he, him. I know we've had some really good pronoun hype for the last like little while of tournaments having like really good cut conversion rates on non-he, him pronouns. He, him pronouns were usually about like the average conversion rate, but the he, him pronoun conversion rate, this world's top cut was buck wild. It was absurd. Yeah, it was weird. Not great. Hey, Scrub, where can one review the world's results? Like not just the winner, but how other people indexed it in the top 10? So Scrub, what I would recommend, you can go to Always Be Running and the results are there. You can also find the tournament results and see pairings if you go to t.nullsignal.games. I don't know the tournament code for the tournament itself. It's probably somewhere down here. No, it's not. I think it's like 4452 or something, 4255. Yeah, 4255 will get you there. And so here you can see the pairings and standings and breakdowns and stuff like that. Most of, if not all this information is available on the ABR as well. I was very lucky. I think I would have lost if Kikai spent the weight counters when I was pushing, not on off turns. Maybe. I think Kikai. Oh man, I talked to Kikai after the game, Rahi. There was one draw off of the especially it was on a turn that you were pushing, and I think the read was he thought you were pushing their mode server. But there was one turn that he drew with the class act, and his draws were Kurapira Hermes. And like, I cannot imagine two worse cards to put together to make a hard decision in that matchup. And he went for the Hermes, I think on the basis that he thought you were going to score out and would open up the board state, or he could disrupt that turn and open up the board state. And then the whole game for a while, because there was a known Kessleroid, which like shout out to playing Kessleroid, I guess, was very, very impactful. Yeah, it was like the worst class act draw. And we saw it all on stream. It was like, oh, I don't know which one you pick, whether you pick the Kurapir or you pick the Hermes. But that had such an impact on the game because now we know one of the two Kuripiras is on the bottom of the deck. I don't know if he was playing Mutual Favor. Maybe he was. But just like struggling to find the Fractor. I'm visiting my sister in London. Shout out to London and Norwich metas visited this week. Flying back tomorrow. Oh, no way. Have fun, Jai. Is Worlds 2026 going to be in Montreal? I think it's actually quite likely. It was kind of a joke after Continentals because I think Continentals was a very successful event and people were like, Worlds 2026 Montreal, Lamau. I think like there's a chance logistically it just ends up making sense because I'm not sure if NSG will put a major event in the States considering the current political climate and people don't really want to travel there. Like if Worlds was in the States tomorrow, like I wouldn't go. So that kind of leaves not many options, whether it is in Oceania, which like that's also interesting, but probably is a hard sell, unfortunately, as much as like in-person play in Oceania has been really great this year. So that kind of leaves Canada, and Canada has like 3 major cities. One of them is at a world championship. One of them is on the West Coast, which there's a West Coast World Championship last year. And so that kind of leaves Montreal. Vancouver's a possibility, but I think there's a chance that they would try and go West Coast, East Coast across North America because last year it was very much on the West Coast. So that leaves like places like Ottawa, it leaves places like Montreal. Quebec City is relatively small. It's a really nice place to visit, but like the Quebec City Netrunner meta is like maybe 2.5 people. Yeah, Brazil, right? Like, I don't know. It could be anywhere else in the Americas. I just think Canada's probably the hardest sell or the easiest sell. Halifax, like honestly, if it was like PEI or Halifax, like I'd be kind of excited because I've never been to the East Coast, but I think it's a harder sell, right? I don't know. I think it's a possibility. I think we'll hear about that come January is my guess. But I think if you want to like, if you went to Worlds, if you watched Worlds and you're like, damn, I'd do that again, which like I think most people come to that conclusion. A PEI Worlds would go hard. Duckland, how's it going? I had someone asking about you if you're at Worlds this year. It's like, no, I don't think so. But yeah, we'll find out. I think it kind of makes sense that it ends up here, which is like in some ways sick. In other ways, I can't travel, but in other ways, like that's really cool. I entered a lot of 1-point picks. Looking forward to the results. My wife already gave me the green light to play in Worlds if it's in Montreal. Yo, let's go. And that's the thing too. Like, hey, you know when Worlds usually is. Worlds is usually about a weekend to go in October. If you want to make your plans now to open up that time to begin those conversations, whatever it is, like I promise you, if you think Netrunner is even the smallest bit interesting, planning your trip to go to Worlds is worth it. It's like kind of the coolest thing. And I think we're going to be spending a lot of this stream talking about why exactly that is, but I cannot recommend it enough. Bet-runner results are coming with the next King's Court episode. Oh, no week. No way. That's cool. That's really cool. That's good to know. I went all in on Davs and Alpi, so I got a good feeling about mine. Oh yeah, Alpi was probably pointed too. That's really, really good. Chris was 6. I think Chris being at 6 makes sense. I'm not 100% sure because I didn't do it this year. Trad Pinkfing. Hey, Andre, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. PB, you kept saying that you were Trat. And then I was like, Trad Pingvin? And people were like, what are you saying? I'm like, Trad Pingvin. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's a name I know. And then I'm like, yeah, just Trat, right? And I'm pretty sure Trat is Trad Pingvin. Huge congratulations, Trat. Really well played. Just absolutely well done. Cable, Davs, and Mike P made it from the 6 to 8 tier. Oh shit, okay, maybe I'm wrong. That's actually better than I thought. But still, there was a lot of people that I think were like kind of auto includes. Like Sokka usually makes top 16. Bridgman almost always makes top 16. Tuno didn't make it. Rotom Appliance was my safe pick for this year. Bless him. D. Like there's a lot of people that were like, on the cusp. As much as there's obviously full of great players. Hey, Wag Shadows, how's it going? Welcome back to streaming. It's very weird to hear your voice off stream for once. Okay, we're gonna catch up on chat before we go into story time, but I think I need to preface this at the beginning. Firstly, the comments that I look taller in person or I look shorter in camera. Okay, I get it. That's cool. That's a fine comment. But like, legitimately, the amount of people that came up to Worlds to say hi, but also the amount of times you get the comment like, hey, I'm playing Netrunner because of your content. Like, I got into the game because of your stuff is astounding. Like, it genuinely means a lot. It always like knocks me back a bit to be like, wait, you're doing this today because of, you know, something that I did, not with that much like consideration, just because it's kind of fun to do. Like hanging out on a Thursday nights is a fun thing to do, but like genuinely the amount of people who came up to say things exactly that, like, hey, I'm here because of you, is kind of sick, and it means so much. And I'm just very grateful that that's a possibility. That's really, really cool, and thanks so much. It like means the world to hear that. That's really, really cool. Analyze Chris was a 3. Huh, a bit undercosted there. My take is you rerun the worlds with the same decks. You'd see mostly the same day 2 players, but completely different top 32. The last 3 rounds were killer. Yes. Yeah. I think there's definitely some variance there, but like, I think the top 32 is kind of what you expected it to be. The difference between 32 and 16, it's, you know, it's pretty close. So it's a pretty narrow cut. Hey, Laura, how's it going? 4255. I bookmarked it because I couldn't find the dang thing. Any theories for why the top 16 was fresh? There was a big bubble, right? I'll check. I think the top 16 was just people playing really well. I do think there is going to be a natural European bias because of no joke jet lag. I think that matters a bit. Not too much, but a bit. The last rounds were just like pretty brutal. It was like a lot of games between 2 great players that you both expected them to be in the top 16, and only one of them makes the top 16. That's just how it's going to go. There's very little IDing because it was a very like, you know, a tight pot of players. I think all this sort of stuff kicks in. But yeah, I think if you did day 2, that's already a huge accomplishment for many people. And then top 32, top 16, it's like, it's hard. It's just generally gonna be hard. And then it's immediately like you lose 2 games, you're out, like, which is also brutal. So yeah, we did see some really good Netrunner play, and I think that's what we're looking for sure. Hashtag MTL Worlds 2025. I was not joking. No, I know, Nick. You were definitely not joking, and I think it's actually gonna happen, but we'll find out. Y'all got a venue time to start putting out feelers? For what it's worth, like, if you're looking at Andre to do any world stuff, if Montreal Worlds is a thing, it's something that Null Signal Games does. So it's not like I wouldn't do anything. I would just be a guy there. I'd be a volunteer like I was this year. So like, it's, you know, not much we can do about it. Please come to the States. Let us go. So don't come to the States. Please don't come to the States. Let us go somewhere else. I hope people do travel. That'd be cool. Worlds in Bali, I believe. Aussies were trying to put out feelers for Sydney. We decided their best tagline was, "You're probably not opposed to the idea." I think like one day that would be very, very cool. I think like ultimately the bummer is a lot of people just wouldn't travel. And it depends what your goals are for Worlds, right? I think I would be stoked to travel. I have no idea how long it is or how expensive it is. So maybe I'll look at those numbers and then like come up with a different conclusion. But like I'm super stoked at a minimum that the amount of numbers of in-person play is good in coming in Oceania. My wife and I also enjoyed the atmosphere and art. The atmosphere at Worlds was sick. It's really good. Like the Worlds this Worlds was a really good vibe. Not that it's not. I think there's like genuinely this like ridiculously different vibe between North America's Worlds and European Worlds. And I've heard it called before, this is not my line, between like a runner's Worlds and a corpo Worlds, right? Like you go to San Francisco, it's in, you know, the basement ballroom of a hotel. It's like a liminal space. Everything is beige, this color you cannot name. It's, you know, exactly what you think it is. It's a hotel, you know, basement at a Marriott or something. And then you go to a Worlds in Europe, and it's like, you know, in this tapestry studio with this beautiful mezzanine, and you're surrounded by art exhibits and like, you know, just like rope and cloth. Or you're in an art, you know, installation, an art gallery in Barcelona. And yeah, it's hot as shit and it smells bad after a while, but like, it's just such a different vibe. I would hope that I think Montreal is a city that you can nail a European vibe. But like one of them is nicer to hang out in as a social space, I think. No disrespect to San Francisco Worlds, which was sick, but you know what I mean, right? It's just different. Things work different. Let Phil run Worlds in the middle of the country. I mean, we'll all go to Calgary. Worlds falls on like my mom's birthday week every time. Probably something that can be worked around. I mean, the Worlds is Ronki Doja's birthday every year. So like we all get to celebrate. EU time zone, we bought the rights. Hey, actually, good to see you. Actually, with the game, I'm going to be talking about the game that we played, which was the best Netrunner game I played all weekend, which was a bummer to get it out on a Thursday. But if that game doesn't show up on a podcast, I'm going to be upset. It comes from the heart. You're amazing evangelist for Netrunner. Thank you. Awesome case. That's very kind. We're pretty lucky to have you. Thank you. Speaking of pretty lucky to have you, it's Synchronous C, Jeff. Hey. Great Worlds. Yeah, I think you know this. I stayed with Jeff and some other folks, but like, this Worlds was 360 people plus some 40 volunteers, and it ran ahead of schedule. It ran on time. So much of that was like volunteers did a great job. Jeff did a really good job. There's even some minor things that I know. I don't know if Jeff did this intentionally that worked out really, really well in terms of scheduling people. And I'm going to do this going forward for anything I organize. For instance, like we would have a break. And Jeff would not say like, come back for 110. Like he doesn't say lunch ends at 110. He says the next round begins at 110, which is true. The round timer would begin at 110. And people heard that and people were scared of that. I've heard some also other good comments that like getting food accessibility, there was a lot of options around the venue. So it wasn't hard to get food and get back, which like sometimes that's a concern. But like people were punctual. Things were moving quickly. It was just really well organized. We ended day one on time, which again, for almost 400 people is nonsense. Mind you, they did paper match reporting, which like, yeah, after running Continentals, I would never do online match reporting for a tournament of that size. And then day two, we ended up like 2 hours early. It was like kind of wild. There's a lot of volunteers that did a lot of work. Jeff is never going to take the credit for it, but like shout out to the volunteers. They did a great job. Jet lag's not real. Go sleep, Lamau. Why can they not cut the 32 and remove one more round of Swiss? Wouldn't it be the same for timing? I think Jeff has some strong opinions about this. He might have already responded to it, but I don't know if Jeff, am I allowed to talk about your opinions about, you know, top cuts or whatever? I agree with this opinion. This may or may not be Jeff's opinion, that Swiss should matter. Swiss should matter a lot. I think at the end of the day, if you go through like 14 rounds of Netrunner and you win all 14 rounds of Netrunner, like that should be worth a fair bit. I think opening the top cut, like making it wider, it doesn't actually change that much. It adds like only 1 or 2 rounds to the day, but it just makes like Swiss less important. And at the end of the day, the majority of the Netrunner tournament is Swiss. And so it's up to you to figure out where you want your priorities to be. I don't know. We'll talk about the top cut when we get to naturally in Storytime, but I think like playing more Swiss rounds does a better job of telling you who the top players are than having a wider top cut and then coming down to if you just lose 2 games, you're out. Again, just for full disclosure here, the Snare Bears almost all lost 2 games immediately, so I'm going to be coming on that side of the narrative, so you can roast me for that. But yeah, at the end of the day, like I do think Swiss is actually very important, and putting that more emphasis on Swiss is worth a lot. That's my point about that. Top 32 double elimination is really bad. Okay, good. Jeff just wrote that comment underneath. That's good. Bigger cut is whack compared to more rounds. Yeah. Like if anything, I'd rather have more Swiss rounds. Because again, the more Swiss rounds you have, I think that produces a more accurate conclusion of who are your top players that day than just having a wider cut. Because double eliminations are relatively much more random than just playing more Swiss rounds. Really, really good. Shout out to Jeff for an amazing tournament. I would be down to top 8 and 16 rounds or something. Honestly, yeah, maybe 2. Like I would actually go the other way. I would, I know I've just said this. I would do more rounds, less top cut. Bro hard downplays his sphere of influence in Netrunner. I'm just the guy. Like you think I have intentions. Like sometimes I make a tutorial video and that's like good idea, Andre. But usually I'm just showing up on Thursday. And sometimes I'm sick. Hey, Alexander, how's your Saturday? With the whole it'll be a Canada thing, I do feel bad for people in the States who have reasons they won't want to leave the country and come back in the political climate. I agree, Kolava. I think it's tough. I think there's a lot of people that traveling the border is not a thing. And then they, you know, are in an unfortunate position to make that decision. I do think you'll still see like strong organized play within the United States, so that there will be things worth traveling to that doesn't require you to take the risk of crossing a border, which, yeah, for some folks, that is a legitimate risk. I know for myself less so, but That is awkward, uncomfortable, and I have no doubt no one wants to feel like that and have to make decisions based off of that as well. It is what it is. But I would be very, very surprised if NSG puts a Worlds event and requires people to travel into the States. But there's no perfect solution here, obviously. Jeff says that would be my preference. Yeah, more Swiss, less Top Cut. So my math number of games you have to win in a row if you lose one, I see. Yeah, it's weird. I want to make a quilt so bad. Describing the vibe of Worlds to my coworker is so weird. How did you say? Surely you can cook the books no cut only Swiss. Hey Lucy, good to see you. I can't believe it took so long to run into you. I know that we talked, I think, on COS Day, but I don't think you introduced yourself. I'm pretty sure I've seen you in video, so I could have recognized you. But I'm glad we ran into each other. Hey Full Bloom, how's it going? I think it's more than just the losers bracket versus upper bracket that adds extra hours to play. Going outside in SF made the feel sad and upset. I kind of hate that city. Sorry, SF people have a weird dystopian. I don't like San Francisco as a city. Downtown San Francisco is really strange. I know when they announced San Francisco Worlds, I wasn't happy about it. I went to San Francisco Worlds. I had a great time. But yeah, downtown San Francisco is like, it's awful. I prefer the SF Worlds vibe, possibly because of my freshman experience. Weird, Jai. Very, very interesting. Hey, Gentling, how's it going? Good to see you on the weekend. I do want to try and move away from ballrooms, but they're tougher to get in NA. Yes. And like for what it's worth, ballrooms generally have air conditioning. They have, you know, accessibility to accessibility. They also have like, you know, audio visual stuff. Like they make sense. I think Montreal, there's a chance. Again, it's a city you could get like a cool loft or like a space, but there's an upside in getting a place that is like purpose built for events for sure. I need my one-time ballroom experience. Yo, Bob, good to see you. Sorry we couldn't share a microphone. Hopefully you're doing well. Hey, Bycat. Restaurants are so good, you could actually get in and out in 30-ish minutes. Who did and who didn't go to the pie shop? If you know the pie shop, you know the pie shop. I think the pie shop was the big winner. I think the pie shop was like the majority of lunches. I got a lot of volunteer lunches, which were like shout out to the volunteer team delivering lunches and dinners, which was good. Jeff and I took the pizzas home and totally got harassed the whole time for carrying pizzas home, like 5 blocks, just nonstop harassment. The only reason I don't make top cuts is because I'm morally opposed, not because I'm bad. The one thing I'll say that's good about, nobody told me about this pie shop. Jeff, you're working. No, we did. There was this shop around the corner that just sold pies, and they had like vegetarian, vegan options, and then just like regular pies. And by pies, I don't mean like, ooh, you know, grandma's windowsill 1950s America pie, but like a pasty or something you could hold in your hand that were like filled with like mushrooms and spinach or like haggis or vegan haggis, which wasn't very good. They were nice. It was really good pies. Pies were good and they were easy to grab, and they ate pretty okay. Okay, my only defense about Top Cut is that it allows you to play Open Deckless Netrunner, and I think Open Deckless Netrunner is like my favorite Netrunner. I think that's the only really positive thing I have to say about Top Cuts is that Open Deckless Netrunner is cool. But otherwise, like, yeah, I honestly don't mind more Swiss rounds. Alexander Peters, I know these letters. This is Alpi. Alpi, I just watched your clip about like the fist bump handshake, and I think that was the worst part of Worlds. And I'm so sorry you had to be part of it. And honestly, it was only you. I think Sleeper got no part of that like it honestly nailed it. Well, they're trying to deny that he's a secret mastermind and I'm on to you. I'm not doing anything. This is the world's hottest new streamer, Alpi, in the chat. Yo, Alpi, that's from a stream, I take it, right? Pie shop was so good. We spoke very briefly after COS, but it wasn't until the main event that we spoke properly. Yeah. Sorry about the pie shop, Jeff. We're not happy to talk about ballrooms here in the US right now. Too soon? Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. It was a bit gutted we didn't get to commentate together. I had many lines prepared for you. I know you did. And you looked good too. I'm glad that you and Crank got to commentate together because both of you like dressed up for it, which is good. You didn't know about the mythical pie shop. It was like up the street. It was 2 blocks and it was just a good pie shop. It was really busy, but you could get your food relatively quickly. You could get like 2 pies, which was definitely like a pretty reasonable lunch. It wasn't that expensive. There was like a line out the door. It was like really funny. I went in to get pies, went in with a couple of friends. On the way out, I run to buy in line. And it's just the funny idea, you know, you cross the world to run to like a Netrunner content creator waiting in line for the pie shop. You're like, yo, Bob, what's up? It was really cute. Andre, you still veggie? Yeah. Did you have a hard time finding food at Worlds? No, not at all. But like the majority of food that I got was like Saturday and Sunday, all my food was catered by the volunteers. Saturday morning, every morning I would eat at the Snare B&B, which we went and did a grocery run. We went down to Sainsbury's and just got like nuts and fruit and bread and spread and stuff like that. But like every lunch was catered. It comes out of your per diem that you get as a volunteer. So if you wanted to sign up for food, they would bring you food and you would say like, I'm a vegetarian or a vegan or whatever. I think 3 out of the 4 meals that were provided were really good. One of them was not good, but like, I'm not going to complain about it. It was provided. Someone went out and got it and it was fine. But 3 of the 4 was like really good. Like I'd order it again. One of them I ate. I wouldn't order it again. But yeah, no, that was totally fine. One of the meals, they went to a place that was like specifically a vegan place and it was really quite good. We'll get to story time properly, but we went to one vegan restaurant with like, I went with a bunch of the guys from New Hampshire and it was awful. It was very, very bad. But food was no issue. We did end up eating pizza at least twice. One time vegan, one time not. And both of them were very good. Very good pizza, actually. Eric told you about the pie shop like 4 times is one of the things he talked about all weekend. It was good. We did tourist trapfish, sit down, fish and chips on Sat. It's called a fish dinner, I've been told, which is incredible Netrunner fuel. Worlds at Ramen Place asked us what was up with all these people with lanyards and they've been suddenly super busy. I think Rahi, that's like one of my biggest, and like, I don't want to say the word issues, but one of the hardest things with Worlds is that there's so many things that you want to do and then there's only limited amount of time. So like I almost never went out for dinner. I almost never went out for drinks. Because generally either as a volunteer, you're there and you're doing stuff, or I'm going back with the testing team and doing some testing, which like was lovely time. But like I get pings from like, you know, Neon Static Patreon page to be like, hey, we're going out and doing something social. You want to come out and, you know, meet Eric and Nick and folks. We're going out for drinks. Like I don't do any of that stuff for better or for worse. And it's a mixture of like being socially awkward, but also like there's so many things you want to do. Like, again, I barely saw Pat. I didn't hang out with any of the nice people from Montreal. There's just so much limited time, which I wish I was there for more days. So I could be like, today we're going out for dinner with so-and-so folks and doing this. But like, yeah, I just did not be able to go out for like dinner with people. It's usually like getting food and going to do testing and stuff, which like, I wouldn't trade that. It was a great time, but you know what I mean? I'm sorry, when I was thinking of savoring pies, my brain immediately asks, how's the priest? I don't know what that means. Open deck lists suck for a lot of decks though. It definitely hurts. Mostly corporations. Like, yeah, there's a balance, you know, thing to open deck lists, but I just like Netrunner better when it's open deck lists. I think it's more interesting. I'm still recovering. Is there any reason why Top Cut isn't best of 3? 1 corp, 1 runner, final game choice, a best result in Swiss? I think Eric, because of time. It would just take too long, right? Because then every round goes from 40 minutes to up to nearly 2 hours. It's just not really easy. Double elimination kind of is like a best of 3, sort of. Not really if you think about it. But it's not like Magic where they do things like best of 3. That's pretty common. But in Magic also you have a sideboard. And I think Netrunner with a sideboard would be miserable. Just kind of how it's been for a long time. I don't know. I do think like this is a year that organized play could start to do wild and interesting things. I think we'll talk about it today. I do think actually I'd be kind of down for the new mulligan rule. I do think we saw a lot of games at Worlds that were decided by bad mulligans. And honestly, I don't like that. So I do think there's definitely like, if there's things that seem like they're established in Netrunner, you can definitely challenge them and we should be recommended to tastefully challenge them. But best of 3, I don't see a huge upside to it. If you expend day 2 Swiss, you can make argument that day 2 is open deckless Swiss. Yeah, I could see that. It adds more time, but you could do it. Nottingham tried that in X and people were upset. Yeah, I don't think everything should be open deckless. I think open deckless just like incredibly really helps players who are more established, and it just doesn't hurt. Doesn't help at all, let alone discourages newer players. I am very much against open deckless at all points of time because a lot of casual players, you give them a deckless, it's useless. They kind of feel a bit silly. They have to ask what all the cards are because they don't know, and it's just not actionable information at all. And a newer player, or sorry, a more experienced player, one of the ways that they can lose to unexperienced players is unexperienced players play weird stuff, and that is one of the big advantages you are taking away. I think open deck lists at all levels of play is just incredibly stratifying the difference between experienced and competitive players, or inexperienced and competitive players, which you do not want to do. But I do think once you get to like day 2, where all these players are, you know, on the same sort of competitive tier, then I could see open deck lists making sense. So maybe day 2 open deck lists make sense. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think there's a couple people. I think Cranked also, Jeff, I think you shared, Cranked also did like a stream talking about the world's experience. I'm excited to watch that too. Yo, Ultrafilter, how's it going? Good to see you. That's some incredible tapas, worlds, and seafood. Ooh, stream was absolutely incredible. Shout out to Chia and the team for the work they did. It was a pleasure to watch all weekend. Stream was really, 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 really good. When I heard that like Kato was running the stream at cons, it was like a big reason. I was like, damn it, I'm in, right? Like I hadn't bought my ticket then. Oh, did my camera freeze? Yeah, my camera froze. You're right. Hold on. I mean, there could be a less flattering pose. Let me see what I can do about that. What about if I do this? No, no good. Okay, hold on. My camera's working. Let me troubleshoot this. Okay, so we shut the camera down. I did a big snork. Did you hear that? I thought if I turned the camera off, you wouldn't hear the snork. But then I just obviously. We'll reboot Andre. Give him a minute. Shit. All right, hold on. Can I not change the properties on this bad boy? Why won't you change the properties? I can't do this stream without a camera. That would be bad. Okay, I'm gonna just change scenes and see if we can fix it. Okay, the scene doesn't have a webcam. No, that's bad. Still frozen. The scene. Huh. No snork? Okay, that's good. You spelled snork in a good way too. Webcam. Which one of these opens up into Jeff's kitchen? This is gonna be bad too. Yeah, it's not good. Maybe I'm just frozen like that. You need to reconnect the cam. Yeah, that's my next choice now. I'm gonna unplug and replug the cam. Fade out. Okay, let's give this a shot. One moment. Let's leave this open to see if it says like no signal. No, because it should say no signal right now and it doesn't. Why is this locked in? It's not plugged in. How do you know this? That's not good. Okay, let me unplug it from the back of my computer. I'm gonna crawl on the floor. So you're gonna lose audio for a moment. Buckle up. All right, so I unplugged it and it's still there, which is like terrifying. This reminds me of Smooth the World stream went. Yeah, you're telling me. Yeah, World stream is really good. I was saying like, yeah, knowing Kato's involved, I'm like, oh, we're in good hands. We can do this. Okay. So it won't let me change the properties of it because it's in the middle of it. Okay, this is gonna be bad again. If I go here, cam link 4K, let me change this to something else. I'll do the Insta360 link too. I'll change, whoa. Oh, hey. Hey stream, can we just do it from here now? I can see chat 0% now, but this is nice, isn't it? This is where I play Marvel Champions. Check out the crash space. This is obviously not tenable. Like, this is weird to have a conversation like this, right? This is kind of nice. I can read chat. Where were we? I said better be the thumbnail. This is my hair light. You don't see it in stream. It's like kind of there. Cool guy streamer. No, it's peak. This is good, right? Yeah, hold on. I'm wearing nice socks. Maddie made these socks. I'm glad I'm wearing socks for this content. If I didn't, this would not be accessible content. Looks cozy. I'm like worried about opening my window because I think somebody will like rain bolt me and like tell me where I live, which is not something people need to know in theory. But it's really nice outside. It's like the trees are changing colors. I got coffee there. Honestly, a bit too close to my feet, but we'll get there. The hair and forehead shine line. I don't think I try and do a head shine, but I do a hair shine. Like you see this? It separates me from the background. That's kind of nice, isn't it? Don't open the window. No, I'm going to keep it closed. Coffee and glass mug. Yeah. We're a classy joint. You can get to see the coffee you drink. You missed a spot of what? I don't know. Oh, the window? That's fine. Okay. Rainbolt mentioned. Quality time posture. Quality time's flavor text is like such a good joke in my household. It is like an inside joke. For those who don't know, it has like some of my favorite flavor text. What is it? Dim lights, the sound of jazz, me and my rig. I forget it, but we always like. I'll pull it up after, but we mess it up pretty bad for fun because I don't know what the guy is doing. He's playing with this like orange piece of plastic he hates. Okay, I'm gonna plug the real camera in 1 second. This is good Saturday energy. Give me 1 moment. I hit the table pretty hard going down there. Andre streams from such a casual position. Oh, look at my posture. That's good. Okay, give me 1 second. I have to go back here. Yes! Back of the net. Okay, where were we? Barely an inconvenience. Timestamp. We will mention that point. Ow, that hurt my head. Nice. Okay. I'm not going to put my feet up. That was comfortable, but too comfortable, honestly. All right. How's everyone doing? Thank you to everyone in chat for making that possible. Together, we troubleshoot that, and it was good. It's a fish supper. Did I say fish dinner? I think I said fish supper. My biggest regret was missing Cobalt Netrunner quiz. Williams, how's it going? I'm catching up on chat a bit. Yeah, that was awkward. I think Thursday night or Friday night was a bit awkward because there was Cobalt's Netrunner quiz. There was the Trip Mirror concert. And there was the OP panel, and I missed all of it because there was just other stuff going on. It was like it's the night before World, so people were like, "We have to go home. We have to do testing," and so I missed all of that stuff. And I think all of that stuff was probably very cool. I missed the cosplay contest, but at least there's photos of that, and the cosplay contest went hard, went really, really hard. But almost all of that stuff was entirely missed, which sucked. I think the concert, a lot of people missed it, which was such a bummer. I think like having it right after COS where people are like, we should go and get food. We've been playing like 5 rounds of Swiss double-sided was probably not the best time to do it, but the quiz was very well done. Is it still available? Like, can we do it on stream? They're usually really good. The quizzes are good. And I think I'm good at the quiz and then I do it and it turns out people are better. People are really much better. All right, let me catch up on chat. Do you have any advice on how to get involved in Netrunner commentating? I imagine it involves streaming a bunch of online tournaments yourself unless you want to travel everywhere. It's a great question. And like, I don't know if Netrunner has a good track to get involved in comment. Well, no, Netrunner has a lot of good accessibility to commentating. There's a lot of opportunities to commentate. Whether like, how do you get good? That's a different question. If you ask me, I think there's a couple of things you want to do to get good. Firstly is like literally get good. And I mean, get Netrunner good. I don't think it's the most important thing to get Netrunner good, but if you can surround yourself with people that are better than you or watch tapes of good players, okay, hold on. Why I was saying that is like, it is your job to understand what is going on and why people are doing things, and then trying to express to the people watching why people are doing things. And the only way you can know what they're doing, assuming people are playing with intention, is understanding the matchup, understanding, what they're playing around and stuff like that. You need to be able to play all archetypes to some level of competitive play and understand what's going on. Like going into the World's commentary and not playing AUCO, not playing a dozen games of AUCO this tournament season and understanding what people are playing around and playing against is really, really important. So I think just exposing yourself to more Netrunner, especially at all levels of play, is very, very important. Secondly, just doing it. Just doing it a fair bit. I think one thing that you can easily do is you can just boot up a JNet game and in front of nobody, an audience of one. You can record it if you want to, if you're okay with listening to your own voice, which I recommend doing. Just start commentating JNet casual games to yourself. And the more time that you can spend both explaining what's happening and then why it's happening, that does just help a lot. Like you just need more experience doing it to talk confidently, to talk smoothly. You start developing patterns of like ways to talk about things, and like you start developing these habits of what you do when you're entering empty space and you have to fill it. I think practice just goes a long way, but I also think just playing more Netrunner helps a heck of a lot. You get a lot of folks who want to do commentary, and there's a lot of good places to do them, which is nice. Like AMTs are constantly looking for commentators. There's usually 1 or 2 a month, which is great if you want to do it publicly. But again, I think if you want to start, don't do it publicly. In fact, your first commentary is going to be shit. And that's the point. It's going to be bad. And again, that's the intention. You should do your first commentary quietly to yourself. Anyways. Hey, Antoine, how's it going? It's a good stream on the Saturday. Yeah, it looks like it is, right? If there's any more direct questions, I probably have better, more actionable advice than that, but that's where I would start, is play more Netrunner and just practice. Do it yourself. Do it again, open up a JNet casual game and just commentate it. And then spend time like watching, like when good players play replays. So like Tuno posts its list and Tuno puts JNet replays when Tuno plays online. Watch those replays and hit, the forward arrow key every couple seconds and try and commentate why it's doing and what its opponent is doing. And if you can try and make a narrative there that makes some amount of sense, whether you're accurate or not, that helps a lot. Let me catch him on chat. Elness, how's it going? How about drawing new 5 cards before shuffling the first 5 you drew before mulligan? Killer Cola, I don't think that always helps you because sometimes you want some of your hand back. I would say on average, it does make your hand, you have more idea of what your hand was going to be. We're talking about new mulligan rules, but sometimes that's not advantageous. I think what would be more reasonable is having a selective mulligan rule. I think people in chat are probably mentioning an Arkham Horror mulligan rule, where you can look at your hand and you can say like, I want to keep these 3 cards. I'm going to put these 2 cards aside and then draw 2 cards to replace them, then shuffle those 2 cards back. So I think it's a combination of that, but also having a selection, because then you're not redrawing those cards, but you can keep a hand. Something like that. New mulligan rules would be wild. It'd be interesting. I think an Arkham mulligan could make sense for Netrunner. It's worth trying. Yeah, Malta's talking about partial mulligan like Arkham Horror. Catching up on stream. Frozen can't because the IRL open deck list. I don't know what that means. That's weird. If the image is still there with the cam's unplugged, it might be the wrong type of source. I don't know what happened. Okay, sorry, I have to catch up on stream. I'm going to just fly through a bunch of stuff. If you said hi in this section, I'm so sorry. I will miss it. Rainbolt mentioned. Cold brew? It's not. It is a hot brew. Camera says null signal. Okay, I'm catching up. I'm catching back. Yo, Safer, how's it going? Bummer that you couldn't be there at Worlds. We missed you. L5R style mulligans, please put aside unwanted cards, draw to 5, then shuffle back. Yeah, Nick, I guess we all have our own shibboleth of how we describe that. Yours is L5R, ours is Arkham. Got my GF to turn in for a Trip Mirror and she asked why the solicitor was rocking out so hard. I don't even know if I met Trip Mirror, which is a bummer because Trip Mirror's new music that was on the stream. There's some tracks I really, really quite like. I feel bad about the scheduling. Those things was wrong. It's okay, Jeff. I mean, like, it's a learning thing. It's no big deal. OPQ&A was a really good exchange. Missed the concert due to it, unfortunately. Hey, Nix. Yeah, it was really good last year at SF. I went to it. And I wanted to go again for sure. Message TOs and ask if they need help with commentary. That's another good way. If the commentator's main job is to bring up old funny cards like 40% of the time, don't listen to Axu. There's a lot of entertainment to be had with the one person knows the game, the other barely knows it style of commentary duos. I mean, I don't think that's what you should pursue. This is something that comes up a fair bit when it comes to doing like, you know, NSGOP commentary or commentary in general for games, is that usually there's a commentator who is like the color commentator and a play-by-play commentator. Problem is, hold on, I think we're here. I try and do both, which sucks because I'm kind of bad at sharing a microphone with, I'll be honest. Because I kind of do both. I think I do more play by play, but it depends who I'm with, I guess. Because you try and like mold around your partner. But like I don't think I've been in a situation where someone says like today you're doing the play by play or today you're being the color. But I do think some people would like that sort of structure and it would help them like pick a role. I know I've commentated with people who like only do play by play, and like that's fine. I can make that work for myself and for them. But yeah, there is some structure that I think abstractly in a lot of like esports or sports that people stick to that. But I like being able to do just kind of jazz for better for worse. So yeah. Yeah, sometimes you just need good chemistry, right? Also like commentary online, I want to say is like really awkward sometimes because you don't have the person next to you. So if you don't know the person well, you can't tell when they're confident enough to jam in or to jump in. And so then you end up this same thing where like you both talk the first time and then you're like, no, you go ahead, you go ahead. Like that just happens with online commentary. In person, that's less natural because like you can tell when someone stopped because of body language, and you'll even like sometimes point at someone or like, you know, give them the hand forward. But yeah, online can be a bit awkward. So unless like you get a couple reps with someone, then you kind of get into a cadence, or if someone knows how you talk or expects to understand when you finish, it does get easier. Hey Sam, great to briefly meet you IRL. I know what you mean about fitting everything in. Hard to pick and choose, but everything I did was so lovely. I mean, that's all you want. Good to meet you too. As long as you had a good time, that's great. Hey Cobalt, the scheduling was pretty cruel with respect to Friday happenings. There's a rerun on Sunday, but that ran in the similar issues. Cobalt, is the trivia that you did possible that we could do it on stream for folks who can do it remotely, or we could also do it ourselves here? Make Andre social get, I mean, I'd be surprised. Yay, Maddie, some good. Did Nana get her lunch? She did. She's very happy to get it. How's your Saturday out? Is there anyone who does Netrunner short form content? I feel like I never see anything. Deadman, I think the only person I know who consistently does short form content is man, this kills me too. Is Sokka. Sokka generally does like short form content around tournaments that he goes to. I haven't watched all of his stuff from Worlds. I had full intention to do short form content at Worlds, and this happens every single Worlds. I brought my phone to film on. I brought my like lavalier microphones. I even got like a daily cast with like 5 cards stacked beneath it so I could attach my lav to the thing. So I have this like daily cast microphone. It was really cute. I tested it, worked. But then I get to Worlds and then I have like no interest pushing a camera in people's face or filming myself talking in a public space. I feel like I just don't have it in me to be that sort of like you know, content creator where I stand in a place and talk. Like, I don't know, like filming at an airport. We're gonna make fun of Air Kite in here, but I just don't think I can do it. And I feel like making content takes me out of the place where I want to experience Worlds. I don't want to like make content in it. But then on the other side, I know there's so many people who would probably very much appreciate seeing more footage of what's it like to be at that Worlds, either because they couldn't go or next year they want to see because they just gone to Netrunner. So it's really weird because I think more content being on the floor of Netrunner World Championship would be sick. But it turns out every year that I prepare myself mentally and physically to do it, I never do anything. I never want to pull my camera out. I just want to talk to people and hang out, and I don't want to make content out of it, which like kind of sucks. Yeah, I don't know. Saga does some short form content. I thought about it, but the baby happened and it's hard to do Netrunner in 1 minute. I'm also thinking like I can maybe do some cut downs from streams and like cut funny moments. I don't record my streams, so it's a bit harder, but I don't know. It's something I should look into. Short form content does really well. I wanted to go to the OP talk, but was too busy getting my ass kicked in last minute testing. You see, that's what I mean. Like a lot of last minute testing happens Thursday night. Andre does like talking a lot on commentary. Yeah. And like, I get it. It's sometimes not good. It's sometimes a problem. I'll give space if I can. I feel like I probably share a microphone better with someone who's confident, who can take space. And I need to be better at giving space. I did get that comment once or twice to be like, hey, just so you know, sometimes it's hard to get a word in. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I got you. And so you can tell some rounds I'm like, I'll pause a bit more. Online commentary is tough unless I do it with Jai. Yeah, you and Jai are great together. You guys, y'all know each other. Knowing your co-commentator well is super important. It was so much easier to jump in doing commentary with Dungeon Mixer for the pre-world startup event thingy than other commentary I've done before. Yep, if you know the person, it helps a heck of a lot. Really does. My most pressing Netrunner question is, why is distribution such a struggle? Ashes is not available. Talking to people, not having product available is a barrier to getting new players in. Leon, I am not the one to talk about it specifically. NSG probably will mention it. I don't know. I know more, but I don't know whether I can publicly say anything about this, but I saw some really cool stuff at Worlds. But NSG is out of stock of almost everything in North America. It might not be different in Europe. And it looks like they're trying to do another print run, but I think they're trying to go to a different distributor or like make the cards somewhere else that makes more sense for them for a lot of different reasons. And that is like the blocker before the next, reprinting. Dull Signal Games wants you to have cards. They really, really do. So if there's issues that y'all and most people can't get hold of cards, it is something they're aware of it, and it's something they know should not be that way. I'm pretty sure that it's something they want to sort out. And Vantage Point, mind you, they announced a new set, should be coming out Q1 of next year. It is something they need to be sorting out in the next like 2 to 3 months. So hopefully soon. But my guess is this is attached to them trying to find a new way to print cards that makes more sense in a world where like tariffs and all this sort of stuff in the States and China, it has very much changed over the last year. That's my read on it. NSG probably will communicate more or better, but I'm pretty sure they're in the process. Though fair warning, it's possible to do it on stream now. It's not entirely trivia. Okay, what do you mean? I've heard a few times of the 3-person commentary stream online. It's always a terrible idea, but I've done 3-person commentary and it's not been terrible. I think you just need the right group of people. It takes a different tone. Like it feels less professional. It feels more like, a podcast. And sometimes that's good. Have a good stream. Thanks, Maddie. Hey, Fabiantina, how's it going? Mounting a camera around my neck is the only way I got good content at Worlds. After we arrived, I had no time to pull out my phone and record anywhere near as much as I wanted to. That's kind of how it goes. We need more people with Eric's level of utter shamelessness. I mean, like, power to him. I think it's really good he does it. He makes good content for it. I just feel like I don't know. I don't have the energy to do it usually. We should do commentary. I can fight for your space, NP. I look forward to that. Safer. Andre, commentary is a good balance of bringing insight and excitement. Thank you, Rahi. Were there any notes or summaries from the TO Q&A? I don't know, Jinxie. It's a good question. I don't know if that is shared. Last time it was recorded and streamed. I do not know if any of that happened. I was not there. They said in an article they moved to quartermaster logistics in the USA. Oh, that's for distribution, but I think like printing the cards is another issue. But that's good to know. Because also like last year they had to move who was doing the distribution because distribution was being done by someone who's no longer in Null Signal Games. It's a PowerPoint and an answer PowerPoint, and there are many rounds that have different criteria than necessarily just trivia. If I want to run the quiz on stream now, I can forward those to you. Cobalt, I don't know if I'm going to be able to commit to do it on stream now, but it might be fun to do it on stream like maybe this Thursday. Maybe if Pat will be here. That time zone's probably worse for you. But if that's something that you're down for, and if you want to, like, I can ping you after this at some point, but it'd probably be a better thing that like I'll have Pat over. We can do it on a Thursday. I think that'd be quite nice, actually. 3-person commentary will being a 2-person commentary. I've heard good 3-person commentary. I'm upset when neither player commentator does play-by-play and they just discuss the decks and the metas while the game is going on. Yeah, that is like something that bothers me, is that when people ignore the game to talk about like side stories and stuff like that. Sometimes that's a result of like, it's the 15th AUCO game you've commentated this day. But like, unfortunately, it is, you need to respect your opponents. The players, excuse me, and you should give their game the sort of focus it requires. I do agree. I don't love that when people go off on tangent town and ignore the game that's going on. Sometimes it's where it lands, but usually it doesn't. I do think you just need always like play-by-play is always like the bare minimum to me, and that's just an accessibility thing so that people can follow the game if they're not watching it. I've seen 3-person commentary of fighting games. It requires strong personalities and a lot of experience. Yeah. Hey, Rohit, how's it going? Good to see you. I'll do podcast commentary after the prison mirror morph. It's on the 4th turn of the lock. Yeah, I mean, actually, I've seen some good games where it was totally okay doing podcast commentary, but podcast commentary is a really funny way of talking about it. Yeah, Safer, I've got good feedback about that, where like in theory, you should be able to understand the game without watching the game. It's the same for almost all sports. Like so you watch soccer or football commentary, right? Like you should be able to understand what's going on without seeing the screen. And I think commentary is meant to do a couple things. One of them is just like make it accessible. If you're not watching the game, can you tell what's going on? And I hope that we do that well. Are there any other card printers in the USA other than Cardamundi? I don't know. I'm not sure which printer that Star Wars Unlimited is printed from, but I think FFG prints that in the States. Yeah, I think original Netrunner in 1996 was printed in Canada, but that was only like 30 years ago. We did some 3-person comms at UKNet. Sadly, internet issues means it was all lost. No. T-Sports made it happen for radio back in the day, and more esports should do it. IMO. Yeah, I agree. All right. Are we ready to do some story time? I think my voice is going to hold out a bit. I'm definitely put the stream on while doing the dishes persons, so I really appreciate good play-by-play. Yeah. No, it helps a lot. It really does. Axu says no. Okay, we'll wait a bit. I still have some more coffee. With the amount of content you put out, you have to assume your audience is on a mobile phone doing something else. I mean, yeah, as a backhanded compliment, Gailhart, but I'll take it. I've listened to tourneys in the car. Yeah, I like listen to Netrunner tourneys in the shower and stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there, for sure. We can keep Worlds in Scotland forever, not biased, I swear. All right. Okay, story time, I guess. How structured is this? I'm just going to like talk, for a bit. We're probably not going to play some games today. We've been streaming for about an hour. Our camera only failed once. Not bad. So I'm just going to explain like kind of my experience at Worlds, what I thought going into it, all this sort of good stuff. It's an okay story, I guess. I'll be reading chat at any time you can ask questions, and that's mostly it. You ready? So, Worlds this year. I originally didn't intend to. I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to go. I signed up as a volunteer, but this year was like a bit, it was an interesting year. Started working full time, and then we bought a place, so that's kind of expensive. But like flying out to Edinburgh and staying at a place, all that sort of stuff, obviously that adds up. So I was like kind of not 100% sure. Start with the Axu game. I mean, we'll get there. I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to go this year, which was a total bummer. And I knew like, the closer it gets to Worlds, the worse you'd feel about it. And I only actually bought my ticket, I think, after Continentals here in Montreal, where the Continentals was just good. It just turned out good. Being in a big event where people are coming in and having a great time, it reminds you why you do these sort of things. As a volunteer, I think it's kind of, I think it's buck wild. Oh, like it is so absurd. And like, I'm not talking about myself. I'm specifically not talking about myself here because I don't do that much comparatively. But the fact that people pay money to travel and then they pay for lodging to volunteer to run this massive thing is like straight nonsense. And the best kind of nonsense. It's like the kind of nonsense that makes null signal games exist. But like there's people there who have not played Netrunner ever, who paid good money, and admittedly, hopefully they stayed there and made a vacation of it, but traveled across the world to volunteer, put on a blue shirt and tell people where the bathrooms are, right? Like there's nicer stuff to do, but that happens. It doesn't make any sense. Like it's straight nonsense. I know at some points this year I was frustrated about it because I didn't think I could spend this much money to volunteer. And like it does keep some people out of it. And NSG does, they'd have a stipend. So volunteers get some money back that pays for foods and a bit of everything. But at the end of the day, it doesn't cover everything. And I'll be honest, this year I was a bit frustrated that I didn't think I could make it make sense. Ended up, I have a full-time job now. And it made sense. So I decided to do it and I'm glad I did. But yeah, at the end of the day, some of those shirts were yellow. That's a good point, actually, Rohit. Some of those shirts are yellow. People who travel out to judge are also like nonsense. It doesn't make any sense. And people are so happy to do it. And I knew that firsthand from Continentals. Like shout out to all the folks who traveled in to be judges and volunteers at that event. Yeah, I guess I want to say here at the top, there's just like golden thing I want to say. We're going to call this Article 1 because we might have to refer back to Article 1 because I know we do the same sort of story time after Barcelona Worlds and after San Francisco Worlds. And there's always like things that you will complain about or things that didn't go perfectly. And I want to say, firstly, the volunteers did an incredible job and this Worlds was stunning. It was the biggest NSG Worlds, nearly the biggest Worlds of all time. And it ran beautifully. And I think, I can't say everyone, but I think it was just such a fantastic time. And if there's any criticism here, I want it to be incredibly undercut by sentence 1. We're going to call this article 1. So if we're ever getting, and I don't think we're going to get too gloomy. I just like, I re-listened to like talking about Barcelona and then like, you know, joking about how hot and stinky it was. But at the end of the day, the event was a success. So many people put effort into it. And if that's what they're getting out of this, like story time is like, oh, they fucked up this. Like, no, that's silly. So article 1 will be a thing that we're going to be referring to this whole time. Every time I complain about something I know is the best NSG world so far, but there's always ways to improve. Yeah, that's what I mean. And like, I want to be very clear too. I was a volunteer, but I did like literally no work comparatively to other volunteers. But anyways, article 1, very important ground rule. We will remember this. This world was killer. I don't think at the end of the story, I'm not setting this up as if it's a horror story, but like, just so you know, article 1 was great. I also want to say article 2, which I've already said earlier this stream. I asked people like, please, if you find me, I look busy. I'm a volunteer shirt. I'm walking around. I'm talking to people. That's kind of part of my job as a commentator also, is just to talk to people to understand the narratives and what's going on. But the amount of people who came up to say like, hey, wanted to say hi. You're the reason that I'm playing the game right now. You're the reason I'm here. It's astounding. It's kind of absolutely incredible. It means a lot to me, and I'm glad that this content finds you so well, and that this is a way that you can make more out of this game that we all know is incredible. And also to a big extent, it's more so that the community is so incredible, and allowing you to get into it and get more out of it is like definitely the goal of this channel, besides just having an excuse to hang out and talk. That's article 2, and like that is as personally very, very touching, very, very nice. We met so many nice people across the entirety of the weekend. That's article 2. Article 2 also a huge success. Oh, thank you, PyCat. Anyways, so decided to go to Worlds. We locked it in only in like August. Bought my airplane ticket. I'm going to talk about some numbers because I guess it matters. An airplane ticket, it turns out around round trip was about $1,000. When I went to Barcelona, airplane ticket was like $70 round trip. And that's because we got Aeroplan points. Aeroplan points is like air miles kind of for Air Canada, which is a Canadian airline. And I could just get like, I spent so many airplane points that the flight to Barcelona was $73. And so I was thinking like, I'll get a flight to Edinburgh and it'll be super cheap. I looked into it. Unfortunately, if you want to fly directly from Montreal to Edinburgh, those flights end in September. So you have to do something more convoluted. And we ended up flying to Toronto, which is in the wrong direction, an hour and a half. And then you fly 7 hours to Edinburgh. Not that bad. Yo, Izzy, how's it going? Congrats on Worlds. We're just starting Storytime. Shout out to the SMCs. I did not give out enough. I didn't bring enough. So I got like really awkward where I didn't want to bring these out because I only had like so many play sets. So I probably should have given out more. Anyways, we'll get to that. Anyways, I looked at the Aeroplan points and it was like, yeah, you can save $200, but the flight is 3 times as long. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to go the most direct route and play a bit more money. But Aeroplan totally failed me this trip. Good thing is that staying there wasn't that expensive, because I'm part of a testing group called the Snare Bears, and there was a Snare B&B that Kat booked. And there was, I think, 6 people staying at this one, and there's a couple Snare Bears staying with other folks, and staying there was not that expensive. I was meant to share a room with Jeff. We kind of, I don't know why, but we changed roommates. I stayed with Cable Carnage, who I didn't know that well. I'm glad that I got to spend more time with Cable Carnage, who plays in the UK, who is a Snare Bear I haven't seen that much considering the ocean. But Cable Carnage is just the best. So that was not that expensive overall, which is good. Stairwell looked hella sketchy. Yeah, it was really sketchy, the stairwell, but the Snare B&B was actually really quite nice. Dang, Snare B&B was swag. The QTM plow was just called E. Why? Airbnb is a good name for sure. Okay, so World, I'm doing commentary, so I'm signed up for that. So I don't play at the big event. The only event that I have to play at is COS, which is the Crown of Servers. It's the team tournament. I'm not sure why the team tournament is not up on ABR, but it's not right now. At least I couldn't find it. And last year, the way that I look at COS is it's kind of an important tournament to me because it's the only big tournament I play any year. Because most big tournaments I go to at this point, either I'm doing commentary or to some extent I'm organizing, which was a nice little experience this year. I guess we've been doing it for a couple of years now. So this is like the one big event I play, and I have good expectations for COS because last year we had 2 Snare Bear teams, and Snare Bears teams came in 2nd and 3rd. We didn't come in 1st, but we did really well. We were like 1 game away from winning COS, which would be a pretty sick thing to do. And we had good teammates last year, and we have the similar teammates this year. So I'm like, okay, I need to kind of bone up for COS because I don't want to disappoint players. This is actually like the really hard thing to do is like, I'm probably going to be on a team with two, like, you know, top 16 worlds candidates. And I play Netrunner pretty okay, but I'm probably not that skill. So it always feels uncomfortable being on a COS team where you think you're the weakest link and you don't want to let anybody down. But I'll be honest, like nobody in Snare Bears, I don't think, especially this year, cared about placement as COS because COS didn't have prizing anymore this year, for better or for worse. If you won the event, you got a mug. But coming in top half or like top 10, there used to be prizes for that. Now it doesn't matter. And so most of the vibes around the room were like, COS doesn't matter, just have fun. And that's nice. I can work with that. I didn't know who my COS teammates were about a week into. And it turns out my COS teammates were Analyze Chris, which is great. I played with Chris last year. Chris is great. And then D, which is a total treat because I've never played on COS with D. And I think D is like the coolest person. And then it turns out they're all pretty locked in the decks that they're playing. D wants to play some Epiphany to get some NBN reps in because I think they were considered playing at Worlds and playing some Anarch. And then on the other side, Chris wants to play Moosely Hot, which with dolls. We're kind of more playing Sable, I think, as a group, as much as, you know, Jonas wasn't at Worlds this year, unfortunately. And then wanted to play that sort of like PD combo game with like, you know, the combo deck. I forget the name for it, but it's like a really fun combo deck. Hey, Pat, are you back? We'll talk about Chris in a bit. Yeah, but that's a really great team. Like both of those players, top 16 worlds players. And then I'm just sitting there like, okay, what are we going to do? Some COS teams have a gimmick to it. This COS team, our gimmick was play dolls, which like this year was not really a gimmick. Dolls were kind of a good thing. Oh, Footgun, that's what it's called. Thank you, Colin. Dolls was just a thing that you could do this year. So we're all playing dolls. So it's dolls Moosely Hot, dolls Anarch. And so now I have to play dolls Shaper, which isn't really a thing, but there was one doll Shapers deck that I already played on a stream and I liked it a fair bit. So I'm like, okay, we can do this. And that is the sort of Dow deck that is playing the girls package that Antoine played and did really well at the last online showdown. And Antoine's a local, so I asked him about it. He recommended some changes I made. So I'm locked in for this Dow deck, which is cool. Now on the Corp side, I have to either play Shinteki, which I don't want to play Ayuko, I don't think, or I need to play Wayland. And like, you let Andre play Wayland, he'll play Wayland. And last COS, I played like a Modernism BTL, and I don't think the deck was good, but I did better than I thought I would. Just playing like BTL with alternate win conditions. And so I'm like, let's kind of keep to that. But I read the tone from my teammates and they were all like very, very, very clear. Have fun. We do not care how we do. Just have fun. COS does not matter this year. So I started to look at like weird decks that you could play in Wayland. And I found this. Quesadilla posted this list, and Quesadilla was at Worlds. I don't think I ran into Quesadilla. And this is a Bangoon list that did well in NPC Cascadia. And this deck slaps. This deck was actually really fun. I like did some test draws and I'm like, okay, I read the write-up. I'm like, I think I understand how this works. I think I'm gonna play this Bangoon list. And honestly, a big reason why I wanted to play this Bangoon list is I got an alternate art Daniela Jorge Ignacio, and I got an alternate art measured response from Sindarin from the West Coast megacities in Canada that I really wanted to play. They were really nice, and this deck played both of them. I'm like, I have an excuse to play Bangoon. I'm going to play Bangoon. I don't have huge expectations, but at the end of the day, playing Bangoon at COS is exactly what COS is for. Just have fun, play something goofy, and have a good time. And so I started doing some testing for this. And I'll be honest, this year, I felt pretty guilty because my testing team, they're constantly in the LFG server looking for games and doing testing. And I'm not there. I was just a very busy last month or so around here, and I did not have time for a lot of Worlds testing. And so on the night before, on like Tuesday, there's an LFG ping from Analyze Chris. I'm like, okay, I'll jump on. And I'm telling him like, hey, not gonna be the best testing. I want to play Bangoon. And Chris is like, yeah, you can play Bangoon. And so I play my first game of this Bangoon deck against Chris and I win. Pretty good too. And Chris is like, okay, we'll run it back. And then he takes a game off me and then we play it again. And then I play this game again and I take it off Chris. And the thing about this deck is, you know, you install Advance, your agendas face up, and the agendas suck. They can't let you score them because an SDS is a problem against a criminal deck. And then you want to install these on top of 2 upgrades. An Angelique does 2 damage. A Daniela functionally does 2 damage. So the remote server, it's like a 4 damage and a tag run, and then you put other garbage ice on it, like a Phonatria that gives another tag. And you just build these situations in which the runner has to interact with you, but they don't want to. And if you install Advanced and SDS on the table and say either you're going to lose one of your criminal breakers, or you have to run my server, take all this damage and take a tag, it's going to be a problem. And we learned in the criminal matchup, I take 2 to 3 games off Chris, and Chris is like, I guess this Bangoon deck isn't total ass. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I feel good about it. I took some games off Chris, felt okay. Yo, Ian, where are the tags from this list? Are you just hoping they flow from Hammer or Phonatria? No, Bangoon has a tag on it. They take a tag. How's it going, by the way? Great to see you. An absolute pleasure. Is this deck so bad it's actually good? I think it's actually not bad. I think this deck is not bad, and I think it does have a huge advantage that people don't know what to do about it. And we'll talk about this because I've, 5 games at COS plus all these other games I played. It also kind of exploits your opponent's hubris. Because you install something face up and then your opponent has to make a decision, and showing them where the agenda is, they often make the wrong decision. A lot of the games that I played, my opponent ran the agenda and died to it, or died to the consequences of it, where they could have let me have the agenda. And that's just kind of really, really fun. I would say the one big thing I learned about Bangoon is I think we all expected Bangoon to be a bit like this modernism deck that plays fast and loose and keeps the runner, like, oh, they always have to catch up to you, but it's not. It's like kind of like this airship. It's like slow moving, probably. It's a bit more like a tank. It like slowly plods. I spend turns like putting ice and clicking for credits. You play a government subsidy, 1 or 2. And then once you're set up and your remote server has 2 upgrades, then you say install advance. And that's when you fire your salvo. And then you tell the runner, what are you going to do? Are you going to dodge it or are you going to rush it down? And you become this like very slow moving piece of artillery. And it's fun. It's a different play style. I do eventually think you become a grinder. I want to shout out, I made some changes to this list that I stand by. I cut I cut 2 eminent domains and I played 1 above the law, which was recommended in the list. And then with the extra slot, I played a 3rd Angelique Garza Correa, which I would swear by. Very, very good card. And I like that list. I like that version a fair bit. But against Sable, right? Like you ice 2 centrals, you click for credit, you ice archives, you click for credits, and then eventually you push out. You don't rush out the way that I classically play Wayland. And as soon as I like changed gears to that, I started having a lot of fun with this for sure. I added a handful of econ and cut a few ice. I think the deck like barely has enough ice. I don't know if I'd be excited to do that. The econ's okay. Extract is actually like really fun in this list because you can go from like, 4 to 10 to double measured, which is cool. It feels weird that you only have 2 measured and 1 copy of, or 2 end lines, because that feels a bit fragile, but you usually get what you need. But this list like was just hella fun. And I was kind of excited to be able to play Bangoon, and the bite was maybe the best card in the list. Lucy was talking in chat about playing Tucana, and yeah, you could move some influence around and play Tucana and then use Tucana to get an enemy or get a ping and deal more tags and deal more damage. And I think it's just coming down to making choices. The influence in this list is so tight. I think Daniela Jorge Ignacio is like totally not optional. This card is like one of the most important cards because it makes your remote server stronger and you need that. I think a lot of people don't realize that Bangoon is not on steel. It's not an additional cost. It is on access, which is really funny. I got an early win against Chris where Chris didn't realize that and then ended up, not being able to have extra cards and then dying to the agenda, which is kind of really funny. But yeah, Danielle is really good. You need the bite. I'll be honest, you need the bite because your centrals are weak and you need to make the centrals stronger. It's not uncommon for someone to flush HQ before they challenge the remote server so they can flush out things like measured response. And then just taking cards and taking a tag, like all that sort of stuff really matters in context. I honestly would play more bites maybe over Phonatria, but Phonatria is one of the only unfair ice you can put on your remote server that makes the consideration more difficult. Because you beat Bangoon by just saying draw with Nuka, run the remote server, and this is the card that says, hold on, you have too many cards now, this will be another problem. No shot, you need the bite. Oh my god, Axu. Yeah, you need the bite. I would consider playing 2 bites. I wish some of these cards were in influence because you have to spend influence to make a Bangoon make sense. It's really, really good. Have we had more than 3 reveals from Vantage Point? Digital, we've had 4. We'll be talking about them when they show up into the narrative of the story, but we've had 4. Bite is good, yes. Where compression be good. Yes, very good. This card is really good. Bite feels really, really, really good. Anyways, I'm locked in. I feel pretty good. I sleeve the decks up. I bring some extra cards in a box. I bring extra sleeves. I have new sleeves. And I bring a handful of extra cards that I can splash in and splash out. I need to shout out this deck more. The one I played from Antoine. Can we find it? Search. DAO deck. I played no testing games about this after I made the changes, but Antoine recommended that what we did is we cut one transfer of wealth from this deck. We cut the whole like spec work, rejig, coalescence package, which never made a lot of sense, but we cut one transfer of wealth, and then how you spend that 4 influence is up to you. I'm pretty sure I ended up playing one Steelskin Scarring for the AUCO matchup and then 2 Strike Funds, which feels good. Strike Fund is really nice naturally. Playing events is good to Anacom. I feel like the Strike Fund is like a very Diogen coded choice, and it works out really well. And it also is one of the few economy cards you can play alongside Anacom on the turn you set up, which is pretty valuable because obviously Creative Commission is possible, but Sure Gamble is a bit difficult. I like those changes. The other option is you could play Pinhole Threadings, which is really good. I think the only thing you really need a Pinhole Threading in the modern meta feels like Mercia, and Mercia is an issue for this list. But like, this is really fun. I ended up doing very similar cuts on the exact same list. Yeah, I think the transfer is honestly underperformed for me. There's even a chance that I would cut a first transfer, a further transfer for maybe like a compilation. I want more HQ pressure. I also added a burner for additional HQ pressure. I was on 2 jailbreaks as well, 3 overclocks. It's because the slots get opened up, but I think that was all the changes I made. Calling my Strike Fund recommended Diogen coded. I mean, Antoine, if I know anyone who plays Strike Fund, Anacom, in Shaper, it's so Diogen. 2 Pinhole and a Steelskin, yeah, that makes sense too. I've been enjoying splashing Empiricism to Bangoon to put on R&D, but the hope I can put Bite in Hand on top of R&D fun when it works. Johnny, I think I shouted out exactly like I want to play. I guess I should say we put out a video right before Worlds with Jeff where we talked about our tier list, and I talked about putting Empiricist in Bangoon, and it makes sense. I just feel like your influence is spent in so many better ways. But yeah, it is, that card exactly has the text Bangoon wants. Yeah, Diogen says it is. Anyways, I'm sleeping up. I actually feel good. I feel like these decks, they'll be fun, relatively easy to play. They're relatively spicy. Like if someone asks you what you're playing and I say, I'm playing DAO and Bangoon, like that feels good because it doesn't seem like I'm taking it too seriously, but I can win games. And I think that's the nice like place that you want to be at COS. Cool. So we're flying out. It's a Wednesday afternoon. The really awkward thing about this flight is that you leave at like Wednesday at like, the flight is from here at like 3 to Toronto, and then Toronto at like 7 you leave. But because of time zones, you basically lose an entire evening. You have like a 7-hour flight starting at 7 p.m., but then you arrive at 7 in the morning, which means like, good morning. Hopefully you slept well in the airplane. And 9 out of 10 times I sleep really well in airplanes. I'm very good at sleeping in places. Any vehicle, I can fall asleep in it, particularly if I'm not driving. So I'm okay about that. So I get to the airport. I'm not flying with Pat, but I'm flying with Antoine, who, mind you, this is the Antoine you might know. And Antoine is younger, and I think this is the first time that he might be flying internationally on his own. And Antoine and I were like, hey, that's cool. We'll fly together. This is great. I find a table and we end up showing up early, and we end up playing some games at the airport, which is nice. And I play Bangoon, and I take the first game off Antoine, and Antoine's like, yeah, actually, I think Bangoon's not that bad. And then we play a second game and we go to time. Get on the flight, we go to Toronto. It's really nice in Toronto because Toronto ended up being like a pretty big convergence point for a lot of Canadian flyers. So we run into like Ghost Meat, Dave, another Snare Bear coming in from Victoria. We run into all the folks from Toronto who are there, but there's just like so many Netrunner players that you see at the terminal who are all coming from Toronto to Edinburgh, because for a lot of Canadians, that's where you go. And we go out on a flight. And we get there, no problems. Well, the issue is I can't sleep on the plane. The 1.5-hour flight from Montreal to Toronto, I sleep on that no problem. But then this, like the 7-hour flight from Toronto to Edinburgh, which we show up at 7 in the morning, I cannot sleep barely at all. I watch Mickey 17. I have my dinner. The dinner was pretty bad. I like airplane food more than the usual person, but really bad pesto sauce. Ask Antoine. And yeah, we get there at the airport at 7 in the morning, and I'm pretty exhausted. And now we have 2 problems. Firstly, it's 7 in the morning. And so like the only play that makes sense is to stay up till like 10 or 11 and go to sleep then, and then wake up early on the next day. And hopefully that like resets your jet lag. You just like hard kick it. And the other issue is that I have a suitcase I checked in. However, our Airbnb doesn't open till 4 p.m. So we have this full day that I didn't really well plan for. And I know so many people who are coming into the airport that morning. Like the people from Boston are coming in, the people from New York, I don't think are coming in. But there's a lot of people at the airport, but there's not a lot going on that day because most people don't have a place to go. What do you mean go to time? I won that second game? I mean, like, we didn't know. Time was called. We had to go. I don't think you won. You probably win. Playing games at the airport is how I found out I packed the wrong runner deck. Oh, no. I mean, I guess you got to find out at one place. Us dunking on Microweb and opening the RH thread and saying that there wasn't a ruse, but kind of funny. Yeah, it was not a ruse. I honestly did not know RH Glacier was a thing that Cable was doing. The pesto was mud. I'm not sure that thing was actually food. It was bad. It was very bad. You didn't win on points. Time was called. What are you talking about? I clicked for 4 credits like 10 turns in a row and then ran R&D. I don't remember that happening. There's no way of knowing. Cool thing was we get to the airport. Customs are not very bad. We did our ETA early, so that's great. And we show up and we run into a whole bunch of people. We run into all the Toronto people who are there, which is great. And then I walk out the gate and I run into Wenjong, I run into Jai, I run into Axu. I should have known it was Axu right away. I haven't seen Axu in person since Worlds 2023. I'm like, this is Axu, right? But they're hanging out. They just got in the morning, and they also like don't have a place, I don't think, until later in the afternoon. And so it's really nice to see them. And we're like, okay, all the Toronto people left together to go to their Toronto place. And then we're like, okay, we'll just go downtown. We'll figure something out. We'll get on the tram, because there's this like fantastic tram right outside the airport that you can get in. You tap your card on and it takes you perfectly downtown. It's like £5. It's really, really quite nice. And I know this because my partner and I, we went to Edinburgh before. And so I'm like, we'll take the tram. So we all walk down together. It's me, Antoine, Axu, and Jai. And so Jai taps on, gets onto the train. Axu taps on, gets on the train. I tap on. I'm about to get on the train. I turn around to Antoine. Antoine taps on. Their card doesn't work. I'm like, okay, hold on. I go with Antoine back to the thing to like see, you can buy a card there in paper. And I go back to the platform to like tell, Jai and Axu it might be a moment. And then the doors close. And then I'm standing there on the platform like, oh no. And then I just wave to Jai and Axu who are like looking at the train being like, what's going on? Because they don't know exactly where they're going. I was meant to like bring them somewhere, I guess. And so we just get separated and they go downtown on their own. I'm laughing. I'm like, okay, it's fine. Antoine gets a ticket, takes like an extra minute, and then we just get on another tram that was waiting there. We barely wait 3 minutes, and we're off. And now we don't know what to do. It's like, again, 7:30 in the morning. I haven't showered in like a day. I need to brush my teeth. I'm very tired. I think Antoine's probably even more tired. And I get a nice text from Ian and from Eric being like, hey, we are just arrived. We also don't have a place till 3:30, but we're with the EA Sports crew. And if you don't know EA Sports, they're from East Anglia. They're a testing group that's been around for, I want to say 2 years now. Great players. And they have a place where there's, I think, maybe 8 or a dozen of them together. And apparently they're all there and they're considering dropping their stuff there for the day, like putting their suitcases there, and then they're going out for breakfast. I'm like, wait, that's really nice. We can be there in about 15 minutes, which is not bad. We're on the tram, all right. That reminds me that time we left a coworker on the bus. This thing was a bit fucked because my card worked everywhere in Edinburgh except the tram thing. It was the same thing when I took the tram back to airport. It was hella funny in retrospect. It was really funny in retrospect to stay on the platform and just wave as y'all disappeared into the morning. So I'm like, we'll be there. And so we show up, and then outside it's Not Yeti just standing outside. I'm like, yo, Not Yeti, it's great to see you. They bring us in. They like let us put our suitcases in one of the bedrooms, and they were like, we're going out for breakfast. Do you want to join us for breakfast? I'm like, this is amazing. Let me brush my teeth. We're off. And so we were a big group of like all these like UK players. And then it's like all the New Hampshire crew, some folks from Boston, Ian is there, Rangi Doge. And then it's me and Antoine. And it's just really nice. It's really nice. We go to one breakfast place. They can only sit half of us. So then we sprint into 2 groups. So we go for a breakfast place, and it's just like such a great vibe. Like it's already very much worlds coded, where you travel the world to like, meet these new people or see people you've met years ago and just hang out. And it's like, you've known these folks for such a long time. And it was just very, very good. Then it's like still, 9 in the morning. We've got our food, and then we have nowhere to go. And so EA Sports is like, why don't you just come in and hang out and like play some games? And I'm a bit uncomfortable about this because it's a testing house, right? So EA Sports, I have no doubt, are testing some decks, and they want some privacy from other testing groups. And they open their doors and they're like, come in, hang out. It's fine. Like play games, do whatever you want. And they just open the doors. And it was really nice. Like, shout out to EA Sports. Like, I think honestly that might have made the whole weekend, because we didn't have anywhere really to go on that day. We were waiting till 4 and they were just like, come in. And so we were able to hang out there almost all afternoon. We played some really good games in Netrunner. I got to meet a whole bunch of EA Sports people, and then more people just kept coming in. People from all different sorts of testing groups just like piled in. We ran into like Vale, who I didn't recognize right away, which feels really bad. Then folks were coming in from the States. Axu and Jai and everyone caught up as well. Eventually we all ended up in the same place. We just played some really good games in Netrunner, and people were just like hanging out and trying to meet everyone. It was just really nice, like such a great vibe, exactly what you want from Worlds. I originally felt bad that we took like their testing time, but it seemed like it was no water off anyone's back, and they got more games in with more people. The fly was incredible. It was really, 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 really nice. EA Sports claims to be from East Anglian, but I played against more French EA Sports players than East Anglian over the weekend. Nice to see you in Edinburgh. You too, Fixby. EA Sports B&B was so much fun, even though I was so tired and thought I would pass out. It was so great to meet so many people. Yeah, it really was. Can I tell you about the best game in Netrunner I played all weekend? So I'm talking with Axu. I'm like, wait a minute. When am I going to play with Axu Netrunner in person? So I'm like, Axu, let's sit down and we'll play a game of Netrunner. And so Axu was like, okay. And Axu, mind you, is not playing this weekend. Did bring Dex, but Axu was a judge the weekend wearing a yellow-orange shirt. And so I'm like, what do you got? And Axu was like, you know, I got Hoshiko. So he sits down with his Hoshiko deck. I'm expecting the most boring Hoshiko deck ever invented. It turns out it was. It was dolls and gachapons and every single, you know, companion that clicks in a credit for a turn. Hey, Axu, if you hear this, there was a card that you sat down during the beginning of the game. You said, I have a tech card in my deck. Can I take it out? It's secret tech. Can you say what card you took out of your deck? My guess is direct access, but I honestly don't know what card you took out of your deck. But you said, I want to keep this card secret for Worlds. You took it out. I don't know what it was. It was Iru. Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Iru is really good at Worlds. There's a lot of decks that played Iru in it. Iru and Criminal was like secret tech on our side too, which is really good. So I'm playing against Axu. I'm playing this Bangoon deck, which like Axu, you get an eye roll from playing Bangoon. And it's like turn 1, turn 2. And Axu drops like, you know, Hoshiko, 2 Gachapons, get a Fermenter and a Companion. Keiko is down, plays 2 Stone Chip Chart Rooms. And I lost the game. I'm like, the game is over. I can't beat this at all. I'm cooked, right? Like 2 stone chips, all this economy. He's playing dolls. He makes 1 aggressive face check that could get punished by hammer, but no hammer. The list has 1 hammer, and I'm just getting rolled over. Like, this is the Hoshiko deck, and it is getting like 3 to 4 credits for free every turn pushing forward, and I'm cooked. I get to like maybe 3 points because there's a face up that he doesn't want to run, which is good. I think Axu did the thing. Sometimes you don't run the Bangoon remote. It's not the end of the world, but sometimes you do. I think he does challenge an above the law or something like that, and it's okay. But I'm just sitting there. I don't have a strong remote server. A bunch of my upgrades were trashed, and I'm in a really bad spot. But then one turn, halfway through the game, I'm thinking of conceding. Actually, with 5 cards in hand, 2 stone chips on the table, a loaded twinning, click 1 runs HQ. I don't think I res the ice because it's garbage and we have Trickster Taka credits. Like, I'm just not resing ice because there's a Trickster Taka on the table. And so Axu just has to dump the Trickster Taka into nothing just so it's not a problem, which is fine. But I'd rather just not res ice because then the Trickster Taka breaks it for free anyways. This is just a bit more funny. And then he dumps the twinning to see 3 cards. And I have 5 cards in hand. And first access is the bite. And it's so cool to get Axu with a bite, because you know it's going to upset him, like emotionally, but also you can see the eye roll. Like, normally you can hear the eye roll when Axu talks about things like bite, but then seeing the eye roll, and people are watching this game to some extent. Oh man, it's worth way more than the 4 credits I paid for this. I have exactly 8 credits. I pay half my money into this bite. Axu's like, this is how you're playing Netrunner? I'm like, yeah, dog, I'm playing Bangoon. I got a bite in it. What do you want from me? And so he takes 3 damage, hits no Steel Skin Scarrings. He's on 2 cards in hand. He looks down at his stone chip chart rooms. He's like, okay, maybe I messed up. We'll be fine. And then he trashes the bite, which, like, yeah, cool. You probably trashed the bite. Second axis of 3. He touches a Basalt Spire. Steals it, and all his companions get money. And now I have to fire my text. When the runner steals this, add a card from Archives to HQ. You see, Axu trashed the bite. So now I add the bite back to hand. Third axis, now I have 3 cards in hand. One of them is the bite. I shuffle them up. I have 4 credits left. I put my cards on the table. Axu rolls a die. He touches the bite and dies. He took 6 net damage from the same bite. It was credit perfect. I ran the numbers. The chance of him dying to the same bite in this hand was 1.6%. It should not have happened, but it was bite, basalt, bite, 8 credit perfect. The only way I could possibly win this game, and it happened. People saw it, and I was like, heck yeah, I go for the high five. And that was the best game probably played at the entire tournament, and it happened on Thursday. No one was going to know. I'm excited for this to come up during the King's Court podcast. I have no doubt it'll come up, but like, it was literally the coolest game of Netrunner, and I just sat there and I just shuffled my hand. It was so sick. Anyways, that's how I won the game against Axu. We played a second game where he played like, I think HB pilled Ayuko, and I was just playing this Dow deck. And I want to say the coolest thing about this Dow deck is actually this text. It sucks that there's games where it doesn't fire, or it doesn't like meaningfully fire. But it's the sort of like match. It's like so cool in the matchups where it does, right? Like you're playing against Ayuko, and they res an enemy, and then you spend the whole game like moving that enemy around, which you break for 1 credit with dolls, and don't have to face check into bullshit ice. Like they res a Samasamoon, you bounce off of it, and then you spend the whole game putting the Samasamoon in the wrong place. I ended up winning that game on the last turn. I think I might have got, I don't know if I got oppoed. Maybe there wasn't an oppo. But on the last turn, I like, you know, go R&D and see 5 points and close the game out. Which at that point, there was a cohort firing every turn, so R&D gets pretty dense because we're not scoring out. And we take it. So I got a sweep Axu on Thursday. And it was like 2 very good games of Netrunner, but this game was like just the best Netrunner. Better than my 12.5 chance to lose on a single HQ axis would happen. It happened all weekend, Hellness, if it makes you feel any better. He totally deserves it. I mean, like, next time Axu's not going to trash the bite, he's going to be like, can't die to the bite if I don't trash the bite. Yeah, the games were sick. The games were like genuinely very, very good games. Besides this game where like I didn't do anything, but the game was sick. But the other game was actually really good Netrunner on both sides of the table. Like Dow was like just genuinely very good. Retire from Netrunner right there. You peaked. It was so good. It was so good also that I was in a public space where people were watching. Very, very fun game. I got to play a bunch of other nice games with EA Sports players. And then it's like 3:30. What's your expectation of Vantage Point? That's a good question. We'll get to it when we talk about Vantage Point, which will happen tomorrow in the story when Vantage Point was announced. But yeah, Byte did well at Worlds this year, which is kind of cool. So it comes to like 3:30. We end up going out for from lunch with the New Hampshire Neon Static folks and Derek as well, who's a Neon Static folk, if you ask me. And we're meant to go to this, like, it was a Tanzanian place around the corner, but they closed at 3 and we went there at 2:50. They were like, we're not going to serve you. And I'm like, yeah, respect. And so that we went out to this vegan restaurant, which I searched like vegetarian food, and it gave me this like restaurant around the corner that had a good rating, and it said, we have vegan food. And then we get there and it's only vegan food. And like, I'll be honest, I eat vegan food a lot. And there's a lot of bad vegan food out there. And the thing is, like, a lot of people who eat vegan food can't complain about it because there's nothing else to eat. And so you end up with restaurants that like just end up surviving because of like literally survival. And I hate bringing people who I know are not vegan to vegan restaurants that I don't know or if they're good or not, because then they have to be like, this is good. It was bad. I had bad food. Everyone said their food was okay. I would be surprised. It was the worst food I think we ate all weekend. Sorry to Neon Static folks. I thought it was just a place that had vegan options. It was a vegan restaurant. My bad. Not good. Don't go there. But it was 3:30. And so then we went down to the Snare B&B. Got to meet everyone. Snare B&B was nice. We had about 6 people staying there. Place was, the stairwell was like hella sketchy. Like you get in, it's like, why is it so dark and frightening? And you get upstairs and it's like brightly painted. And it used to probably be like a sort of like university split dorm, a kind of space. That's the worst I had, but it was like fine. I've had way worse vegan food. Yeah, but it was like the worst food we had in Edinburgh. Let's be honest. It was not good. Yeah, the place was really nice. It's good to see everyone, and then people are doing testing, and so we spend the evening. Well, I'm exhausted, but I'm trying to just like stay up to 10 or to 11 would be nice. My goal is to stay up to 10 p.m., but we're already so exhausted. I finally get to take a shower. I haven't showered in like 36 hours or whatever. And then we're hanging out. We go out for dinner. We go out for some Indian food at a place that Cable Carnage went to when he was a student. He was like, let's see if it was still good. Still is pretty good. We get to run into more people who are finally like trickling in. And then we get back. We do some testing games. We end up playing a fair bit of Arboretum on the weekend, if you know that game, because Dan brought Arboretum a couple like small box games you could play. And I haven't played Arboretum in years. And oh my God, am I dog water at this? But other folks are really good. Had a good time. This game looks really nice. It's really mean. Everyone is an asshole. Shout out to Kyle and Cable and Jeff. I hate all of you equally. You're all the worst. Game's good though. All stairways in Edinburgh are like that. It's the rule. It was like really frightening. Did anyone take the free personality test that was advertised on the stairwell? I didn't notice that, Jai. Edinburgh impressed me in a lot of ways. The food was not one of them, though we did go to a fancy vegetarian place that was on the locals guide that was amazing. OTOH, I took a lot of transit and never once checked a schedule. Arboretum is my favorite way to hate every choice I made for an hour. It's like such a mean game. I'm kind of mad I missed Worlds. I'm really mad I missed UK Indian food. Indian food was really good. We went to a place, maybe some other people went to it. I think it was called the Mosque Kitchen or something like that. But it was like kind of like a buffet. You just kind of pointed at things and they put it on your plate, and it was all like incredibly cheap and all of it was very good. I wasn't super hungry because we went for that food earlier, but it was nice. And I managed to stay up till 11. I made the changes to my deck that I wanted to make. I borrowed some cards off of Cable Carnage, and we ended up going to sleep and waking up really early the next day. Indian food kind of spicy, so it's tough. Oh my God, it's like Finnish spicy. Dishoom is so good. Oh no, safer. So I think Jeff went to Dishoom. Maddie and I went to the Dishoom. Yeah, Jeff went to Dishoom. Maddie and I went to Dishoom last time we were in Edinburgh. We had to like queue for like 45 minutes. It was so good. For those who don't know, Dishoom is a chain across the UK. Someone from the UK will be able to give more information about this. But it's like a mixture of a restaurant and I would say a theme park, because the place is like so well decorated to be like basically Prohibition era Indian food. So you come in, they bring you downstairs to like a speakeasy, and then they give you a number, they bring you to an elevator. Like but it's gorgeous. Like everything is decorated like it is early century India. The one in, I don't know if we can find Dishoom Edinburgh. It was just really lovely. And then the food was very, very good, but it's decorated like this, like the sort of room that is, you smoke cigarettes in and have good food. It's just really, really nice. Maddie and I went there. We had such a good dinner that we went the next day for breakfast, had such a good breakfast. I have a Dishoom cookbook that Maddie got me when she was in the UK. And then we never went to Dishoom because it's hard to go with a party of like 12 because you have to make reservations. But it is it was maybe a 15 walk from the venue. If you're in Edinburgh, I can't recommend it enough. I'm a big Indian food fan and the food here is really, really good. I've been to the one in London. I think there's a couple in London, but Maddie and I were walking past the one in London because after Edinburgh, we went to London and the queue is like, it was so long. People are waiting for it. I was legit so mad I couldn't be at the Worlds in part because I couldn't get Dishoom. Okay, so you know. Safer, we'll go next time. Actually, don't worry about your tolerance is still, hold on, higher than Manuel's. Logic Bomb did a team dinner there on Thursday night. Changeling, how good was it? Did they take you to the bar downstairs? Anyways, Dishoom's great. If you can go to Dishoom, make it make sense. I think Jeff made it make sense. Anyways. So it's COS day. I'm feeling good about my decks. But we have this weird COS issue that I haven't brought up yet, which is really, really funny. Hey, Sophie. I missed your message. I just saw it there. Arboretum is the only game I felt instant regret after making one choice. Oh, man. Super happy to see a stream watching from the start to catch up. Funny fan. We'll see you in about half an hour on 2x speed. The restaurant guide we got on Discord was great. Ooh. +1 Logic Bomb Dishoom is great. I went to Dishoom Tuesday morning for breakfast. It was so good. Oh, Antoine, I'm glad you went there. It really was worth recommending. I was trying to get people to go there on the morning that we got in on Thursday, but like the first time they could have sat us was like 10:30, 11, and it didn't make sense. We didn't go to the bar, straight to the restaurant. Oh, if it's too busy, they take you to the bar, which I actually think is a treat. Okay, so we have an issue because again, my team is World's Top 16, D. If you know D, they're the best. And then we have Analyze Chris. I played with Analyze Chris. This is the second year in a row. Analyze Chris, also the best. Analyze Chris had an amazing Worlds year. Looking forward to it. The problem is Analyze Chris isn't there at Worlds because Analyze Chris is flying out on Thursday night and will show up Friday morning at some point. Our expectation is that Chris will not show up to COS until about the second round on COS, which means we're missing a person for the first 1.5 to 2 rounds. So we ask around, and I'm not sure who did this. I think Kat maybe reached out. But we basically get like a pinch hitter. We get a ringer for our first couple rounds. We have Gyroscopic. We have Jai, People's Champ himself. So Jai's like, I'm going to join your team for 2. And then after that, we'll boot out Jai. That's what I heard. And I'm like, that's great. Thanks, Jai. That's a huge help. Another great player to add to the team for sure. We can't lose. Feels pretty good. What I found out later is that after Jai left our team, Jai was going to join another COS team that was also short a player. There was a team called Two-Headed Jaidra, which was Sokka and Bridgman. And they were going to play with only 2 players for as many rounds as they had to until Jai joined their team as a 3rd player. Now, that means that for at least 1 or 2 rounds that they were going to have to play like double-headed. So one opponent was going to be playing against 2 players. I find that to be a bit awkward. Turned out it worked out okay. I don't love it to be sitting there waiting for your opponent to like pay attention to you, but it worked out. And that's what they were planning to do. And they ended up doing that for at least a round. So we sit down with Jai. Great to see Jai again. We sit down with D and myself, and we get paired round 1. And we're paired against a team that from their name, it's obvious that I believe it was obvious they were players from Edinburgh, or at least from Scotland, which is really nice. My opponent, it was Galen, I believe her name was. I think she said that she either hadn't been playing for about 3 months, or she had only been playing for 3 months. I think she hadn't been playing for 3 months. So she was getting back into the game. She was super nice. And so we're sitting down and I think, okay, I'm playing against Leo and I'm playing against, it turns out, Sable. I'm like, okay, this is the matchup that you have to kind of nail for the whole weekend. That's okay. It's going to be the most common matchup. I think I have a good matchup into Sable. It was Sokka and Rust Rider. Oh, it was Rust Rider, right? Bridgman had flute, right? It was Rust Rider. Yeah, good catch. So we all sit down and round 1 is going okay. Opponents are really nice. I do think they are local. And my first game was, I would say, a mess. It really kind of goofed up my morning. I played pretty poorly. I was holding on to 6 cards on 1 turn. I'm just icing up centrals. I'm kind of sticking to my slow moving tank gameplay, and it's working well. I think she's like making a lot of runs that, yeah, I have an open archive. So there's a lot of like fun runs that you're getting free money from Sable, and money matters in the matchup because you have to like play a measured response at some point, maybe. I can't ice up everything. I make a push in a remote server. I think I get some points down. But I, at some point, discard an end of the line for my hand. I have 6 cards in hand. I'm like, I have not played this game in any of my testing games so far. I'm just going to discard it because I can't imagine needing it anytime soon. And no joke, the turn after I discard this, 2 things happen. Firstly, Analyze Chris walks to the door with his luggage and it's like, yo, Chris, you made it. It's only round 1. You missed like literally 2 rounds at like 5 to 10 minutes, which is great to see Chris, which means Jai was only going to be with us for 1 round, which, you know, bittersweet, but that's okay. So Chris is in. That's nice. But also, my opponent, she like on the Sable last click, transfer wealth to HQ and hits a bite. So she ends up losing every card in hand, taking 2 tags, and then with the click left clears the tag. So she's sitting there with no cards in hand, next to no money, and a tag. And then Chris comes in basically in time where I mandatory draw and I show that there's an end of line face down in archives. It was just like really bad. I probably should hold on to my win conditions. And I think this like tilts me a bit. And I'm struggling. I think I have a window still to push out, but I can't push out hard enough. And then I just lose on centrals. So I feel really bad. I feel like I kind of punted that game a bit. If I just held on to my win condition, it was a relatively, it seemed like a win that was just kind of handed to me. But, she takes it right off of me. So well played. And then we swap to the other side and I'm playing Dow against, a deck that I think I end up playing a fair bit in the tournament, and it actually might be one of the most popular decks of the tournament, which is functionally people just playing Rotom's LEO list, which like rightfully so. That is the list that won the major event earlier, and I think it's a really relatively straightforward deck for a lot of people to play. And so why not play this list, right? So it's LEO and it doesn't have a lot of agendas. It looks like my opponent's, her opening hands were a bit rough. She might have flooded up a bit because there's not a lot of forward momentum. I send a burner into HQ, I think early, and I just see like seamless launches and I think I end up bottoming them or something like this, but I can't find a lot of points. And I'm playing the Squirrels type deck, so I get a lot of multi-access and I see a lot of cards from central servers, but they don't connect into anything meaningful because a lot of the points are in HQ. I am playing Dolls, and I think there was one turn in hindsight where the remote server was like a Tattoo Bola into a Boomy, and Chris said this after, and I was considering it, but I didn't like fully do it. I didn't commit to it, that there was probably a line where I run the remote server on like next to last click or whatever is necessary, and I break whatever end the runs I need to break, and then I just like trash my Dolls to the Boomy and just send it in, and assuming that there's points in the remote server. And it turns out there was. The read was that there was something in the remote server. Could have been an upgrade. Made sense that it was an agenda because the early game was really bad. But there was, I think, it's one couple turns in the mid game where if I just ran the remote server, I could have got in there. It would have cost me $1 or $2. But I might have been able to just like steal points from central servers, which really matters. Because at the end of the day, this deck only has 7 agendas and you need to find half of them nearly. And it's really hard to send centrals and see a lot of cards and see enough cards. And she takes it off me. And I started to get the day 0-2. The first matchup, I definitely could have won very easily. The second matchup, I could have won if I played better, but emotionally not where I wanted to start this day on a tournament that I was like, I'm going to do well. I'm prepared for this to some extent. But she takes it off of me really, really well. Teammates on the left, we'll talk about D in a moment, but D is doing well. And then Jai on the far side, were you playing against Eden? Jai on the far side loses both games. So we're starting out with such a stacked team, 2-4. I think D just took every win and we got nothing to show for it. And just at that moment, Jai says, well, that's all for me. Dusts up his hands with his unwinning Corp and Runner deck and then leaves us. And we get Chris sitting in and we're off to round 2. Shout out to Jai. Thanks so much for joining our team. I do want to say that Jai went on to join the winning team that won everything by like 12 points. They won the entire tournament. And I don't know if Jai dropped a game since he left my team. I'm pretty sure that Sokka or Rust Rider might have paid Jai to join our team to throw rounds because they were scared of our team. And like, I get that. That makes sense. I would have done the same. But thank you, Jai, for your effort. Very much appreciated. My work here is done. Anyways, yeah, he totally left us high and dry and just got out of there as soon as he could. Round 2, playing against some mostly familiar faces. We're playing against a team that on the left is Cephalopod Wizard. 50 pound switch hands. That's how little it is. Okay. Jai played Chris's decks. The decks had to stay the same, or at least I'm assuming they did. But it was the decks that they both agreed to play with some amount of consent. They were tricky decks, at least, well, the Moosely Hot wasn't, but the other one was a bit tricky. I went 7-1 after leaving Lamau. The only game I lost was against my own Nuvang. Great. Good. Well, hey, that's how my day started too. I can't be too harsh on it. Second round, we're playing against Cephalopod Wizard. My opponent, I want to say name was Alan. I think that's like accurate. It was a player from Oceania who was wearing the exact red jacket that they made from the Clean Getaway art, because that night was the cosplay contest. So there was a lot of players who were dressed up in cosplay playing at the event. And this jacket I can recognize because I've spent a fair bit of time animating it. So like the studs were right, the holes were right. It was really good. The right red color. It looked great. So I was playing against him, and on my right, D was playing against a person who was introducing himself constantly as Rich, but most people would know them as Limes, a world champion from, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, as Limes, who won an online world championship a couple of years ago. I've met Limes before. Limes is just such the nicest dude. But I find it really funny when he introduces himself as Rich, and then people are like, oh, nice to meet you. And then they read his name tag and be like, oh my God, you're Limes. Okay, cool. So a couple things. Firstly, we're all playing dolls, right? And so one of the things that was happening that D was doing that I did not know D was doing ahead of time is that D had this little mini game that whenever D played a doll, D would put a piece of clothing on. That was just D's game. And D didn't explain it to their teammates, really. Like, this is not a thing we all agreed to do. And D obviously did not explain this to their opponents, because as soon as you say that to your opponents, they know you're on dolls. And that's like, actionable information. So D is, just bringing this extra pile of clothing to every match. And then, throughout the tournament, it just seems like they're getting cold, except sometimes it's goofy where D stands up and pulls pants over their shorts. The other thing is when the dolls get trashed, and let me tell you, the dolls kept getting trashed. For every doll that got lost, D had to take off a piece of clothing. So throughout this entire event, D kept getting up, undressing and dressing without explaining to their opponent what was going on. And it was the funniest thing, because after games, when the dolls get trashed, D just stands up, takes pants off with shorts underneath, and throws a pile of clothing to the floor. And at the end of the game, there's just a mess of clothing on the floor. Very, very funny, very D, but never explained it to anybody what was going on besides us, which we knew. So D is playing against Limes and having some really good games. But the big thing is our opponent's team, they had this gimmick that they said they went out of the way to play cards that they didn't think people knew the text on. And if you had to ask for the rules text of the card, they would write you up. So they would basically write your name down and the card in their book. Now, this doesn't matter. But if you ask me and Chris, it tilted us. We were like, fuck you, we're not playing your game. We're just not gonna look up your cards, okay? It's not gonna matter. And it got to us. And like as a caster, I pride myself on knowing the card text. There was one card that I was 90% sure, and I was about to ask, and I'm like, F it, I don't care what your card text is. We'll just play this game out. It tilted us. I think they meant it with like, they're very nice people. They did not mean this as a slight. But Chris and I were like, you're challenging our pride. We don't care. And we were just all in on it. We're like, we're not playing your game. And then they kept asking us about our cards, and I kept making a stink about it. And they're like, that's not what the game is. It's about our cards. Anyways. So my opponent, Alan, was playing, what's it called? PT Untian, which the one thing I had to figure out is whether PT Untian can only advance an advanceable card. I was 90% for sure that this says only you can advance, not just any card. And that matters because you know it can't be a bite or something like this. That's the only thing I had to double check. I just locked in. It looks like my opponent had a very bad mulligan, and on turn 1, it was NAPD coordinate install a card. No advance, just NAPD and coordinate install a card. And I have no read what that play is. I don't know what on the table is an agenda that can be never advanced that I care about. So I'm like, what the heck is going on here? I don't have a lot of money. I have a good mulligan. I have an Anacom. And well, no, I do have money. My hand is double creative commission. So I do the cursed play. Click 1, turn 1. I play creative commission for clicks 1 and 2. I'm like, F it, creative commission, click 1 and 2. Run 3, I check the remote server, the uniced remote server that's been NAPD cordoned, and Gordon is protecting a Fuji. I'm like, I don't know what's going on anymore. Is this a traps deck? Is the mulligan just like beyond the pale? I take 2 damage. I don't have to worry about measured response. There's no way I can die to this board state. So last click, I play the other creative commission. I'm on a healthy 9 credits. I think I keep my Onicom as well. From that point, the game just kind of progresses the way that you think. It's one of those cool DAO games where like you find the anemone and then you spend the whole game moving the anemone around wherever you want to run because you break it for 1 credit and you're not worried about the face check. I think there's a bit of recovery, but then the bad thing starts happening, the PT Unchan thing, where there's a card on the table and then my opponent, he just keeps advancing it. And I'm like, well, shit. Now I got to play the game. I got to play like the game of, is it an agenda? Is it a clearinghouse, which I can lose to, or is it a thing that just takes, you know, a lot of damage? Couldn't you choose not to steal and save the 4 credits? You could, but if it was a trap, like I wanted to save the click. How's it going, by the way, Celestial? Like I'm in. I'm not going to do that much on that turn anyways. But we're just doing the turn. Every turn we're advancing the card, and now it's at the point where like it could be a clearinghouse and I could lose the game, and now we have to play like cockroach poker. And I don't love cockroach poker, especially because I've lost my first 2 rounds and I don't want to lose to a clearinghouse like trap. That's not my favorite Netrunner, but like it makes sense. And then luckily the card next to it gets rezzed, and this thing is now on 5 counters, and that's kind of scary. The card next to it gets rezzed, and it was a cohort, and there was a face down in archives, which means if my opponent knows about it, they can cohort to flip a face down, face up to get the advancement on the clearinghouse. They would have to res the clearinghouse first, and then they could have flatlined me with a 6 damage clearinghouse. Either they didn't know they could do that, or the card next to it is not a clearinghouse. Because when the card has 6 advancements, that's when you're scared, because clearinghouse will just flatline me on all board states. I have no stone chip chart rooms in my deck. But when it's on 5 advancements, I can chill. And it got to 5 advancements, and my opponent did not continue to advance it. I think if my opponent advanced it once more, I would have to worry about it. But the fact that my opponent didn't advance it with the cohort means I don't have to worry about it. Never leave home without Hermes. I mean, if you have a Hermes, they can just res the clearinghouse if it's behind ice. But yeah, I'm not on Hermes. I'm on Anacom, which I can't tell which one I like better. How's it going, by the way, Durham? Hey, Evan. Hello. Anyways, the game progresses. At some point, it gets overinstalled. It turns out it was an Urtica Cypher. I'm glad I didn't run it, and I just find enough points. My opponent had a horrible mulligan. Second game, it is Sable, surprise, surprise, against my the deck I'm running, the Bangoon deck. And it's a really fascinating game. Technically, time gets called. My opponent ends up discarding a revolver early on in the game. And I'm like, well, that's really good for me because I have some really big sentries that don't get broken well with Carmen, but revolver breaks them really well. And also I just do damage. So if I just hit breakers out of hand at the right or wrong time with an SDS or error to damage, I can lock my opponent out. And it's a really scrappy game. But at some point I do get my opponent's Carmen. So they have no more killer. And now they're trying to face check and worried very much. They're worried about hitting a BOAC and kind of losing the game on site. It's an interesting game. Time gets called, and I end up on the time called turn, scoring out my last green mail, going to 7 points. But it ended up being this weird glacier game where I have a Toucan on the remote server, and I'm scoring, and I'm just getting more and more sentries on central servers. And my opponent can probably make 1 or 2 good runs. I think I stuffed 1 boomerang, I trashed 2 breakers, but it's like a bit dodgy. I think a bite hit the other Carminers. I hit a breaker with a bite, so feeling good about it. But it's a really good game, tense game. And we end up, I end up taking 2 there. So I'm currently 2-2. I think I'm tied for middle because you have to seat based off of, player order. And D, I think, is maybe 3-1. And I think Chris is now 2-2 as well, if not 3-1. Cool. Excuse me. It's lunch break. So we go out for lunch. Luckily, Limes joins us for lunch. And I get to explain to Limes, I'm like, hey, did you realize that D that you're playing against was doing this thing where they were taking off clothing and putting on clothing anytime a doll was played? And then you got to see Limes go like, oh my God, I thought they were just like very uncomfortable with the temperature. This makes so much more sense. And so for the rest of the day, the opponents never knew what D was up to, but D was committed to this bit of taking on and off pants throughout the whole tournament. And I love D for it. It was really, really fun to watch. We find the pie place. It's really nice. We sit outside. We have some good pies. We find the golden boy on the roof. It's just a good time. People are talking about COS. It's pretty low stakes. Everyone's doing about the same. And then round 3, we move into the big space. So this conversation will matter more in the next day. But COS was divided across 2 rooms. One room is the big room, the Dovecot Studios main room, which is the room you see in most pictures. It's where the stream table was. And it's a gorgeous, massive room. It has a skylight, has this like mezzanine balcony. It can sit about 100 tables. And it's really nice. It's not that loud comparatively. And then the next room is called the ladies' bath, which is just around the corner. And that room, again, Article 1, that room sucks. It's really loud. There's nothing in that room besides tables and Netrunner players, so the sound is not absorbed really well. The Wi-Fi doesn't work in there really well. If you sit by the windows, the temperature is actually quite cold, which is nice. It's not super warm, but it's just like out of the 2 spaces, it is the worst space of the 2 to play Netrunner by a fair margin. And so the better you do, the more you have a chance to move into the higher tables, and the higher tables are in the nicer room. So you actually do want to do well because you're just in a nicer place to sit. And so we've graduated now into the better room, if you ask me. And now we're playing against a team called the M's. Second room had aura, though. I really did not like second room. I spent as little time in there as I could. Yeah, Lucy, we'll talk about that tomorrow, because tomorrow you could either do better or you could do worse. You never wanted to be in the middle, unfortunately. I was talking with an older Edinburgh friend, and turns out there used to be pools in the Dovecot building, and the balcony in the main room looked down on the pool. Whoa, that's cool. I guess ladies' baths make sense, right? I love that the room sucked ass. It gave you motivation to get out of the dungeon. It was a nice day when you got out of the dungeon, that's for sure. So, now we're playing against a team called the M's. And I think this was my favorite round because this was just like such a nice round that I ran into this, because this round really mattered for Worlds, I think. It turns out the team The M's was a team of Polish players that all their names started with M. So my opponent was Minstrel, which is a player not only that I really want to meet, but a player that I had high expectations for Worlds. Because if you followed Minstrel did really well at the World Showdown and is one of the best players, if you ask me, of playing Epiphany. And I think Epiphany was going to do really well at Worlds. And it turns out that's true. Largely, the deck Minstrel was playing is the deck that won Worlds, it turns out. And if I wanted to see anybody to show me how you're meant to play against Epiphany and play Epiphany well, it would be Minstrel. And that is my opponent. On the left is Minstrel's either younger brother or younger cousin who was family. And on the right, I'm like 90% sure it was Matuszak, another really good Polish player. And so I'm playing against Epiphany. And I know a bit about Epiphany. In fact, Minstrel brought to the showdown an Epiphany deck that was 54 cards. It was not 49, it was 54. And I even asked Minstrel, how many cards are in this deck? And he laughed. He's like, it's 49. I'm like, okay. So he knows that I know, because he was doing 2 things. He was playing a 54 card deck, which can have been correct. But then secondly, he's only playing 2-pointers. This list is only playing 2-pointers. So it's running 10 agendas. That old list was running 11 agendas. And then either side of the table to win needs to score out 4 agendas. And the big reason is, while NBN has a really good 5-3 agenda, next big thing that came out in the last set, 5-3s don't interact well with Epiphany ability or card text on things like Wage Workers or bigger deal Holloman. Because Holloman with Epiphany works really well and you can get 4 advancements, and that means you can score out from the top deck. But 5-3s are a struggle. And so the idea was like play more agendas and just play 4-2s that all have really good text and go from there. And so I have an idea what I want to do in the matchup. I think Epiphany is really tricky to play against, and I think we can spend easily 10 minutes, and we probably will, talking exactly about Epiphany. Shisha, we'll get there in a bit. It's at the end of this day that we'll talk about it. Fixed seating being in the ladies' bath day one was really rough. Izzy, no joke. I had people come up on day 2 asking me like important questions because I'm wearing a volunteer shirt, and unfortunately I didn't feel like I was giving good answers. And the question was, unfortunately, do you know where the fixed seating is on day 2? Because if the fixed seating is in the ladies' bath, I don't want fixed seating anymore. Which, like, oh, that's painful. But luckily, fixed seating was in the main room, so hopefully that worked out well for people. Anyways, we had a really good game. I'm prioritizing taking down the federal fundraisings, which you need to take these things down. Let me just open this so I can blow up the cards. Because these things are really important, because if they know the top of the deck, that makes Epiphany very powerful. And then almost all of the economy in the deck is based off of balance coverage, so you need to take these down. So unfortunately, this is the matchup where Dowd didn't matter. There's only 1 ice on the table for the whole game. And there's a turn where there's a card behind an ice. I don't check it because my opponent is only on 3 credits. And this is where Epiphany starts to do weird things that a lot of people don't expect because they're not experienced with Epiphany, myself included. Did you know on 3 credits, you can score a 2-pointer from the top of your deck, making money? On 3 credits, you res a Holloman, you Epiphany, you either know that you have or you get lucky that there's a Stoke the Embers, you install the Stoke the Embers, you get 3 credits and an advancement. You now have 6 credits, so you can res and fire the Holloman. That fires, so you get 2 clicks and a credit. Sorry, 2 credits and an advancement, and then you have a click left. So on 3 credits, I'm doing a great job. I'm dealing with the board. There's nothing on the table I have to care about. If you're going to score at a 3-2, I don't care. That'll bankrupt you. But Minstrel has a Holloman, stokes the Embers, scores out, is on 3 credits. I'm like, shit, I didn't think you could do that. That's pretty frightening. And I think this turn, after that was scored, a powers that be brings back a federal fundraising or a balance coverage or something. So my priority is not to deal with the Holloman, but is going to deal with the thing that came back with the powers that be. So I'm going to trash the federal fundraising. So that's what I do. I spend the turn trashing the federal fundraising, firing my Onicom, keeping my money up. Next turn, 3 credits. Epiphany does the same thing. Fires off the top of the deck, gets a Stoke the Ember, puts it on top, scores it out. This is cheaper now because we've already res the Holloman, so you actually make money scoring this thing out. And then the same, powers that be fires brings the federal fundraising back. It's on 4 points now because I didn't spend 1 turn trashing the Holloman. It's really wild. I'm like, I didn't have to deal with that Holloman because what are you going to do on 3 credits? Just does it again. Finds the next copy. At this point in the game, I'm 4-4. We start trading back and forth. I'm dealing with the board. I should have contested the Holloman a bit sooner, but I didn't realize how much of a threat it is. I'm not on pinhole threading. I was worried about face checking the ice because I thought the ice on the face check would have been a Starlit Knight. It turns out it was a Messna Chesvo, which was a bad res for my opponent. So I could have checked it. I didn't. But it was really important that I dealt with this thing, and I did not do it. And he scores another agenda. I think it was maybe the 3-2, the tomorrow's headline. I'm on 6 points. And then on a turn where I'm on 6 points, he's on 6 points. Again, he only has 3 credits. He does Epiphany, click 1, Epiphany, click 2. And with Epiphany and Epiphany, gets both the last Holloman and the last Stoke the Embers and wins off the top deck. I did not know you could do that. But Epiphany for Holloman, Epiphany for Stoke the Embers, Holloman, GG. And it was not a known top of the deck. There was no federal fundraisings fired because I was doing a good job clearing the table. But yeah, I lose to 3 Stoke the Embers in the score area on 6 points. I thought it was a really good game. It was a hard fought game. We talked about it after, and obviously trashing the Holloman was the most important thing. But it was so good to get such a clinic from Minstrel because we talked about the game after, and there's a bunch of things we learned. Firstly, the top of the deck sometimes was an agenda. And there's this like really cool thing Epiphany does where when your opponent looks at Epiphany and sees the top 3, you're assuming the top card is not an agenda. Because if it was an agenda, they might have moved it onto the table or behind ice or done something like iced up R&D or put a spin doctor down. But sometimes it's an agenda and you have to sit there. And Minstrel said there was at least 1 or 2 turns where the top of R&D, which wasn't iced, wasn't agenda. Minstrel knew it and assumes I won't run it to win the game on 6 points. And he was right. Because it feels so bad running R&D into a known Epiphany. And sometimes that's actually good information. And I think this is the beginning of like talking about Epiphany is like Epiphany's ability is better than I think we think it is. Because knowing what's on top of your deck, if you watch about any of the Epiphany games that were on stream, R&D is usually the safest server because most of the game, you know what's on top of R&D. And it's the same sort of a conversation with Architect Deployment Test. It's like Architect Deployment Test is really good because it has text. But one of the strongest things about Architect Deployment Test is knowing the next 4 cards on R&D. It just like helps so much for so many reasons. The information is almost more valuable than getting the res brawn, almost, not usually. And having that built into your ability is like very, 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 very powerful. And the more I play against good players playing Epiphany, the more I like the idea and the more I want to spend more time into it. It's very, very, very cool what you can do with it. The other thing I learned from Minstrel is Minstrel was talking about playing at the last tournament online showdown. And he said, like, if I knew now what I knew back then, I would be playing so much better because there's so many lines that he now knows existed that he didn't realize at that time. And that is, there's 4-point combos. He was talking about how he now goes out of the way to do things like throw an artifact. Like when you draw your Stoke the Embers, it's garbage in your hand. So what he'll do is he'll discard it to archives. And then there's turns where he can score 4 points in a single turn. Where if you score out an agenda, you can now install Stoke the Embers with the powers that be, and it comes in with a counter. And because you didn't install anything from HQ, you can hollow him in the Stoke the Embers. Or same idea that he'll throw out Freedom of Information, or I guess you can do this with hand, but he'll throw these out early because people don't want to run archives usually. There's too much going on. And then when the runner is tagged on a turn, he'll score out his agenda because you can score out, very easily Stoke the Embers with the click left. You powers that be the Freedom onto the table and then score the Freedom for 0-4 or 0-2 because as the runner's tagged. Like there's just so many lines in which you can score 4 points in a single turn. And that was the big problem with this deck is like you can get to 6 points, but if the runner can challenge your hollow mins, which again, I needed to do, the game becomes very, very different. It's sick. It's really, really, really cool. This deck is really wild. It went on to win Worlds, a bit of a spoiler. Null Signal Games hasn't done this for a long time. FFG used to do this, but they used to print like the Worlds winning deck lists as a product you could buy with full arts. And I think if the 2 decks that won Worlds were printed as like a product you could buy, oh my God, what sick products. Because there's such fascinating, weird decks that if you gave them to a new player, they'd be like Netrunner is super strange and fascinating. And they're right. Both of these decks are really, really weird, high skill cap kind of messes. And I think they're worth being played like 100 times into each other. Very, very, very cool. We kind of regretted taking the Epiphany to Showdown. Yo, Turdock, nice to meet you. Because we assumed we showed its strength at a bad time. I think a lot of people didn't believe fully in the Epiphany, but a lot of people put reps into it. But I think I still saw games where like people don't know exactly what they're doing, myself included. This is very, very weird. I was so sure that would be over-prepared for. I don't think it was at all. Hey, there's Minstrel. Got pinged around the stream. We'll gladly watch it later. Learning the TI4 right now with my friend, but always keen to talk about Epiphany. Deck is sick. Hell yeah. Nice to meet you at Worlds. And really, really good games. Now that they're all NSG cards, it seems more viable. Yeah, I guess it is. It's more viable now because these are all NSG cards. Maybe that was an issue before. But yeah, like it's such a weird product. It would be such a cool product to get this as a deck you could print in full art. I'm sick as well. Hopefully you're feeling better. I'm basically getting there, but I think the stream will put me backwards. I was saying the Epiphany ability is better because it changes how people play for all the last meta and everyone was naysaying me at playing NEH instead. I think NEH is better than Epiphany. I just think Epiphany now is worth something. But NEH was better than this. Because what NBN was doing back then was a bit different than scoring out. Because this deck does score out. NEH wasn't. 1357, hey Yassi, is the best way to remember it. 1-3 credits score Stoke with res unres hollow. 3-5 for tomorrow. 5-7 for the other agendas. Oh, that's really cool. Thank you. FFG style world champ decks really should be available on the pod sites. Yeah, I think it'd be cool. It's a bit of work because you still have to like full art and format all of them. But I think it would be dope. It would be very, very cool. We were kind of happy that WoW was on the next big thing because it just playing bad in the deck. I also want to say, like, I did some practice games with the 54 card Minstrel deck, and I did not like it at all. And I do think the 49 list obviously should be a bit better. Anyways, I lost that game against Minstrel, and I got like probably the nuts drawn on me, but it was a good game and I could have won it, and I learned a lot. And the conversation I had with Minstrel was so important because that was the sort of like stuff that I love talking to players, not only to learn more about the game, but also to be better prepared for the next day's worth of commentary. So Minstrel was great. The Polish people were great. Game 2 was sick too, because now I'm playing Bangoon and Minstrel is playing the sort of Madani lat deck, which is, if I was playing at Worlds, is probably the sort of deck I would have played. It was similar to what Tuna was playing at the Showdown. And I played a fair bit with this deck, and I think it's like really quite cool. There were some changes. Some of the changes really mattered. Early game was okay, but how the game ended was kind of sick. Some good pressure on central servers. There was a read that my upgrades were Daniela into Angelique in the remote server, which again, with Bangoon, that means you need to run the server with at least 4 cards and the ability to clear a tag. The early lat is a bit ugly. I think I'm staying down on hand size, so it's hard to get lat to draw. And finally, the Madani comes down, and then there's a turn where lat dumps so many cards into the Madani, and so there's not a lot of cards in hand. And so I decide to make a play here. I get my upgrades in remote server and I install advance. I don't even know if I install advanced. This apology is really funny, Laura. I think this apology is really, really good. I install advance, an SDS face up on Bangoon. And this is what I mean. And like, I think Minstrel is great, but install advance, this is where the hubris kicks in. Oh, and I forgot to mention this. My opponent in round 2 also got me really bad with this, and it was going to continue to follow me for the whole weekend, unfortunately. He knows what it is. I think there was a turn earlier where he runs HQ and uses a compilation to sweep HQ and hits a bite, which is really nice. Because when your opponent hits the bite, you generally have a scoring window on the next turn if your agenda survives. And that's what happened. So we knock some cards out of Minstrel's hand, and now I can install advance. I think I only did install advance because I had to put an upgrade, which means I can't even score a next turn, but your opponent doesn't know what you're on or what you're not on. So Minstrel decides to run it. I think it has to be second last click. Minstrel runs a remote server. 5 cards in hand, I want to say. Maybe 5 cards in hand. Yeah, I think maybe. A Madani with so many options on it. A bit heap full of stuff. And there's like a Muse on the Madani. Except this is not a normal run. This is the second time today that I get hit by a direct access in Bangoon. My opponent in round 1 direct accessed me twice. And this thing just turns off Bangoon text. So there's no tag. There's no meat damage. It's literally the worst feeling. And it kept happening in that matchup. I built this server that's like, good luck taking 4 damage. And it turns out it's not 4 damage. And the tag is actually the most important thing because the ability to give 2 tags is a really hard fork. But I got direct access a bunch of times in the second game, and now I'm getting direct access. So the run on the remote server is direct access, and I'm like, crap. So now I know it's not going to be as much damage. It's not going to be a tag at all. So I res my first ice on the remote server. My opponent, I think, has, I want to say 4 cards in hand here. 4, I think. And the outermost ice I res is the Phonotria. I think my opponent can break it. I think there might be an echelon accessible, except if you break this, you'll have 4 cards in hand and you end up taking a tag. And this actually might have been last click. Yeah, I think this is actually last click that you're running. So you don't want to float the tag for obvious reasons. An end of line was cupped on an earlier turn, so I might have another one. But yeah, you know that there's some amount of tag punishment in the deck. So the question is, Minstrel goes into the tank here to think like, do I break the Phonotria or do I let it fire? Because I want to be under 4 cards in hand, and that's really important. So after thinking about it a bit, Phonotria gets fired. So we go down to, I think, I want to say 2 cards in hand after this. And then you don't take the tag from this. There's another unresed dice. I think it was a Maskarovka. I think in hindsight, I probably should have resed it. We talked about this after the game, but I don't end up resing it. And then you get into the remote server. Bangoon text isn't active. And right before you access, he does a trick where he goes in from the Madani, gets a Muse, and with the Muse gets a Copulation. And this is important. As soon as he fires on the Phonotria, I'm like, I'm laughing. Because no matter what, you know that it's going to be 2 damage from the Angelique. And then if you want to steal the agenda, it has to be 2 cards out of hand. And we don't have that because we ducked the Phonotria, which means we fundamentally don't have 4 cards. But then at the last minute before access, you Muse for the Copulation. And the thing with Copulation is that you can, no, you don't trash the what's it called? The Daniela, you cup it. So Minstrel cups the Daniela, which means this text is not active, steals the agenda, which has no text on it, and then just takes the Angelique Garza Correa and trashes it. Probably trashes it. So now is left with no tag, but no cards in hand. And this is the first agenda that Minstrel has stolen. So this run is a direct access into a cup Daniela, which turns off everything. So the server goes from being like 4 to 6 damage and 2 tags to being literally 2 damage. After that, turns over, no cards in hand. Lat doesn't get card draw, but this is the first agenda stolen on the runner side. So Minstrel is sitting comfortably, sits back and says like, ha, I don't have to worry about this. We're not on threat 4. Because if we're on threat 4, I just send a measured response. The game is over. I top deck an Angelique Garza Correa and I expended to do 1 damage and Minstrel dies. It was sick. It was the 3rd Angelique that I added to the deck. I just top deck Angelique. Boom. Minstrel's like sitting back in the middle of being like, I got this unlocked. Boom, you're dead. It was perfect. 1 meat damage out of nowhere gets there. And this is what I mean. Like the deck sets up situations where your opponent like goes for it and hopefully you're 1 step ahead. We talked about it after that if I had gone and res the Maskarovka, the money spent to break the Maskarovka would leave him in a situation where he did not have the money to get the cupulation. But I'll be like straight honest, I did not play around the cupulation. I did not see that line. I was feeling pretty comfortable, but I should have known that Minstrel knew that those were the upgrades and he was not going to make a horrible misplay. Turns out Angelique is shooting. Threat 3, maybe really, really good. That worked out well. So I am now 3-3, so we're at least even, and I traded games off Minstrel, which is good. Round 4, I'm playing against a Scrubs player, which is a new testing group, I've been told. Shout out to Scrubs. And I'm playing against Matt Ono, who's playing with 2 players from Mental Bost. Ono is playing Ayuko. Oh, give me 1 second. My partner just came home, so I'm going to close the door. 1 second. Yeah. Can you close the door? Can you hear me? Oh, no. Hey, Maddie. I'm just going to close the door. So I'm playing against Matt Ono, who's playing Ayuko. And it's just like the conventional Oppo research deck. And it's a fun fight too. It's one of those games where Dow really matters. And you're moving around the ice that is annoying for you. And it's just a fun matchup. I'm playing Onacom, and there's one turn where I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I'm on floating 1 tag, I think, and I have 5 cards in hand, and I'm like relatively safe because the most damage you can usually do is 5 damage. And then there's a card that's been on the table for a couple turns that wasn't rezzed. And it was rezzed right there, and there's a Reaper function, and I'm like, oh, piss, I just lost the game. The Reaper function fires. Luckily, it hits an agenda, which means I'm now floating 1 tag with 4 cards in hand, and it looks like my opponent doesn't have 2 of the kill pieces, but they were looking to kill me. But luckily, Onacom fired exactly on the Reaper and I survived. I feel like there might have been one more turn where Onacom saved my ass, but I did not play around the Reaper. As soon as he was going to res it, I'm like, oh shit, I lose the Gaslight. But it turns out 4 cards, I survived on 1 tag for a turn. And then at that point, Ayuko fired too much. You run R&D with Devadata drones, you steal 5 points in a turn, the game is over. But it was a really, really tense game. Then we had like 15 minutes left to play the next game, 20 minutes, which is okay for a Bangoon deck if you're really pushing it. I get to a point where I install the Above the Law face up. My opponent's like, okay, well, I'm going to lose my twinning, and just like full sends it into an open R&D with a finality and a dumping a full twinning. So we're seeing like 6 cards, and the first card accessed is a measured response. The measured response is trashed. My opponent is pretty happy. Second card access is a Basalt Spire. I grab the measured response back. Third card grabbed is the second measured Basalt Spire. I grab some nonsense back, which now puts us on threat. And then my doesn't see any more agendas and then dies to measured response on the next turn. Just like full scented. There's a chance that you could win off of there. I think there was a card installed to steal SDS, which like that early game, there's less points in your deck because there's no programs installed. But just full sent it because just saw the Above the Law and is like, I need to use my twinning now, which I honestly don't know if is correct. I think if there's a bite in the deck, you also lose the game there because I think my opponent had like next to no cards in hand after doing everything that happened. So if there's a bite, I win. If there's a couple agendas and not 7 points, I win. And the measured response, I also won. So we ended up getting there. So we take 2 games off that, and then we go into our last round. My last round was against a player that I feel bad I don't remember their name fully. I wrote down Snowball on a piece of paper. That might be correct. Maybe someone can correct me. They were a really nice person. First game, they're playing LEO deck. 7-point agendas. I'm going to go faster through this. I can't deal with the Mersha the whole game. And so Mersha ends up putting like so many points on the table, or so many ice on the table. At the end of the game, there's like 3 ice on every server, which is like really, really tricky. At some point, Mersha ends up on archives, and I overclock archives, and it's like drafter into a drafter. And my opponent trashes the Mersha instead of letting me access it and trash it myself, which would cost me credits. I think it was a bluff to make me think that there was agendas and upgrades, but I don't buy it. I'm like, there's no shot there's agendas and upgrades. And I end up through the brute force of Eru, and I actually fire Beatriz a couple times to just find enough points on central servers, which sometimes you don't just see enough points, but I accessed about like 15 to 16 cards, which hopefully that's enough in the matchup. Shout out to Matt Ono for downing basically an entire pint when the bar closed in on us like a champ. Oh, wild. Last game, a really interesting game on Bangoon. I think I flooded pretty bad, and I spent my first turn icing up HQ, and then turn 2 and turn 3 scoring out green mails. I want to shout out No Signal Games. This card, it emotionally sucks. This is one of my least, like, we shit on Ritual, and rightfully so, but spending your whole turn doing install advance events and getting nothing from this is like the worst feeling in Netrunner. Snoobs, I think it was Snoobs. I think that was Snoobs. I think you're right. Blonde hair. This sucks. Make this agenda fun, NSG. If the agenda is fun when you're resing a Biowack, you don't need to. Biowack's already fun. This awful. So I spent my first 2 turns scoring out a green mail. My hand was like 3 green mails and what's it called? And a Basalt Spire. So I'm just scoring 2 of them. You get -1 card out of hand. I don't care. I don't want to score the 3rd green mail because you want to feed it to your opponent so that they score this and the next 3-pointer and then they're on threat 4. So I score 2 and then I'm trying to build a remote server. The game, my opponent is playing Hoshiko and Hoshiko has to draw cards. And we're getting to a point where the game is like very, very back and forward. I end up pushing an above the law and my opponent runs the above the law and takes a lot of damage because they can't let me score it, I'm pretty sure. And it takes some really good cards out of hand. My opponent is on crew, but it's also on dolls. So like they're very scared of hammer. I think they end up seeing a hammer at some point and it gets trashed. And so now they have to always run with protection of a Devil Charm into Aquaceris crew, which really does slow them down a fair bit. I only have 1 hammer in their deck and they don't know that, but they're basically kind of hampered by the idea that a hammer is going to blow the game open. And I don't think that is necessarily true. I think if a hammer fires, they don't lose the game. I agree. Must have pissed off someone at NSG what they did to Diesel and Hostile Takeover for them to what they did. I know. I agree. Shout out to the people playing after Click 1 drawing Ritual saying at least I have Anacom installed. Anyways, the game gets really interesting. And unfortunately, a bad thing fires in my head where I'm coming to a point where like my opponent is on game point. They steal some good points from central servers. I think I make them run their Mo server maybe once, actually maybe twice. But they're at the point where I think they have 10 cards left and they're actually drawing really aggressively. They're clearly looking for something. And it turns out the thing that they're looking for is the twinning because they lost 1 twinning to damage at some point in the game and their deck has 2 twinnings and they need the twinning to win. So they are drawing very aggressively. They're drawing to an amount that I would not recommend drawing against Bangoon because I can be Grinder, baby. And so I decide, why don't we become Grinder? And so I just kind of glacier up and I start putting garbage in their mode server and not putting face-up agendas, not putting any agendas. And my opponent keeps drawing through their deck naturally and with Hoshiko. And at a point, there are 5 cards left. No joke, the last card in their deck is twinning and they show it. They're like, I've been drawing for this the whole game. They install the twinning and now they're like, I'm ready to go. Except they're on 5 cards left. The problem is when they're on game point in Bangoon, your text is blank. Because as long as they can make this access work, they don't have to worry about Angelique Garza Correa in the remote server because if they access the agenda first, they win the game. So as long as they have 4 cards in hand, the remote server, the consequences of the remote server don't matter. Phonatria doesn't matter because the tag doesn't matter because the game is over. The Bangoon tag doesn't matter. So when you're on game point, Bangoon kind of falls apart a bit. And that kind of sucks. And I don't know what to do about that. But the thing you can do is make your opponent run out of cards. So finally, when my opponent is on 5 cards in hand, I Angelique and I Angelique twice. So now they're down to 3 cards in hand. Yeah. Now there are 3 cards in hand. I think I got the turn before I got Eye for an Eyed, which was really good and knocked out some stuff, but I kept 2 Angeliques. So I Angelique, I know to not install my Angeliques. I do Angelique into Angelique. Now they're on 3 cards in hand, which means if I install Advance into a remote server on top of a Daniela, they can't score it. And that's the only way I can close the game is by doing double Angelique. So they're down to 3. Total villain arc. I went to straight Grinder. My opponent is now on 3 cards, which means they're a bit scared. They haven't seen bites yet, so they don't know they're playing around that. But if they ever hit a bite, they die to any Angelique I can find. They make a good run on R&D. I res a Bioac. I don't care. I'm just resing it for free. I'm throwing away my points. I don't need to keep every green mail. And they have to decide whether they want to crew this and destroy it immediately with Devil Charm, or whether they want to keep this. Hey, wait, what time is it right now? I need to check the time. I need to make sure I don't go too late. Us 2, 3, we're good. And so they decide to break it for 7 because they want to keep their crew thing for the hammer. I res a second BOAC on R&D. They decide to break it again for like 7 credits. They're keeping their crew charm for the hammer. And they see 3 cards on R&D and they find the last 3 points. If they don't see the points there, which I think they're relatively favored to see the points there, we end up in this like really weird late game where I just have to get the agenda to the remote server and hope R&D holds. And then the only way they can charge the twinning is by Taka. So they have to like click for 4 credits, run, boost, jack out, like do some weird stuff on archives. And it gets a really ugly end game that is decided entirely by Bite and Angelique. But I got them down to 3 hand size after a really bad start and barely wasn't able to capitalize on it. So they took the game off of me. So we ended up splitting. At the end of the day, I think me, D, and Chris, and no thank you to Jai at all, ended up, we all went 6-4, which is not bad. We didn't end up actually looking at our standings at the day of because it didn't really matter. But I think in retrospect, I checked after. I think we were like in team 30 out of 100 or something like that. So we did okay. Round 1, bad way to start the game, start the day, definitely. But our opponents were really quite nice. You're welcome. Thanks, Jai. Honestly, though, thank you for helping us out. You know, I'm joking. But I had a good time, and I played Bangoon, and I'd probably play more Bangoon. I think this deck is more fun than the credit I give it. As long as you get that like slow moving tank and you don't play Modernism. I can recommend this deck. Make the changes. Drop 2 Eminence for an Above the Law, play a 3rd Angelique. It's kind of fun. Anyways, after COS, there's a big announcement that Izzy comes on stage and announces that there's a new set called Vantage Point coming out. You probably know about this. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to hear a lot of Izzy's speech. The microphone wasn't very great, but we were able to like catch up on this later. But a new set was announced. They showed some art. And it's about a new set that is going to be coming out Q1 of next year. So between January and March, as much as sometimes these dates do shift. I don't think these dates will shift a lot because from my understanding, and I don't know what I should be saying publicly or what I should not be saying publicly. Again, I'm not NSG, but I'm pretty sure the cards are done. I'm pretty sure the set is locked. I think they've shown art, they've shown final cards. So I think it's all just about printing and production stuff. It's not about balancing and all this other stuff. I think the stuff is locked. Audio is bad. It had like half a second delay, which made it super hard to speak. Yeah, you get your own audio jamming, which is pretty hard. Anyways, this was announced. Some stuff about it. It seems like it's a standalone thing. Like it's not a cycle. It's just a standalone set. So I don't know how many cards it is. It looks like it's taking place in Luna, which I'm assuming is the moon, which is where System Gateway takes on. Which is very, very, very cool. We see some art, which is great. This has to be a Mauricio Herrera. Yeah, it's credited. No surprise. Is this other stuff credited? This is the set symbol, which is an eye, which is pretty frightening. Izzy for Prize. That was also announced at Worlds. For those who didn't know, Izzy has been the Null Signal Games president for a moment now. If you go to the bout section, that was actually there for a while, I've been told. And NSG hasn't communicated it. I think this Worlds was the first time that Izzy has been able to say publicly that she is the president. But the bout section of NSG said that at the bottom, and it has said it for months, from my understanding. Huge congrats to Izzy. That's phenomenal. But yeah, this is the first time that publicly it was announced, which is really, really good. Yeah, we get to see some cards, and we'll come back to that because there are some cards, 4 cards that were revealed the following day. I got to play some good games against AMS, and I didn't bring a deck, which means I got to play AMS's deck against AMS playing AMS's other deck, which means I got to see all 4 cards that were revealed at the event. And some of them are fascinating. So currently targeting release of Q1 2026. I think the set is going to be about the same size. I'm guessing like about 60 cards, and it should be around the corner, which is great. Very much worth noting that there's no rotation attached to this. Also very interesting to hear some of the cards that were announced, which we'll talk about that in a moment. Oh, this is the Matthias Kalza. That makes sense. Is this Zaya? Who is this? Yo, Eric, how's it going? Many thanks to Austin Ice Cold Jazz, but he didn't want to make a big deal out of his departure. So this was the big announcement. Yeah. Yeah, you can go to the bottom here. It's been here for a moment. Board of Directors, President of the Board, Izzy. Vice President of the Board, which I don't think people know that Jeff is the Vice President of the Board. That's a quiet thing. And then maybe there's some other names here that you might not be familiar with. But yeah, this you can always take this page is usually pretty accurate. But yeah, official announcement was on the day. Oh, Startup rotates. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Startup should have a rotation. You're right. Standard doesn't have a rotation. Startup will. Startup will be losing the Liberation cycle. Anyways, this is sick. We were expecting some sort of announcement at Worlds. My joke was the exciting announcement was Ashes was going to rotate. But this is obviously much better. So this will just be around the corner, which is great. Elevation is rotating, which is a big good. Wait, no. What? Nick, none of that's correct. Big Jeff fan here. Yeah, me too. Cool. Oh, for Elevation, right on. So we saw 4 cards from this. There's not that much else we know. There was a bit of a trailer, so you can see some card arts. They're animated. I don't know who made the trailer. Maybe it says. But it'll be around relatively soon, which is great because I think the most important thing for Netrunner right now is more cards at regular release cadence. I do think this last year was a bit slower for many reasons. There's like a changing of the card, changing of production. I mentioned a bit that earlier, but there's going to be a lot of yeah, I'm assuming things are going to be smoother and faster going forward, which makes me pretty excited. Hey, Izzy, I don't know. I'll message you after, but is it possible the cards that were spoiled at Worlds, are those card arts shared to the community? Because I want to do a video talking about those cards. Is that possible? Maybe I should have just messaged you and not asked you publicly in chat. It's probably correct. Anyways, this is coming. That's sick. That's really good to know. We saw 4 cards at Worlds. Let's just talk about the 4 cards, actually. We can see them. Let's go to this. They're on GLC. Message me. Okay. Yeah, they're on GLC, but I want like the nice version of them. I'm assuming they're here on Imager. So there's 4 cards. I'm not going to spend too long talking about them. I'm going to do a video in a bit talking about them, so it'll be a bit more public. Hey, Wavioli. So there's 4 cards, 2 runner cards, who are both NR cards that cared about stealth credits, which is nice to see that come back. And then 2 corporation cards that, to me, seemed much more powerful and maybe much more interesting. This first one is Lampades. I don't know how to say it. I believe it's attached to a Greek underworld thing. The Lampades were torchbearer nymphs who followed the goddess Hecate. Okay, Hecate is the hearth god, right? I'm playing Hades 2 right now. Holding a pair of torches, a key of snakes accompanied by dogs. Okay, cool. Anyways, this card has a lot of text on it, and I don't understand this card at all. So it's a 1 cost, 2 influence program. It says when you install this program, place 3 power counters on it. And then when you access a card, you can spend a power counter and pay the res or play cost of a card you are accessing to trash that card. This means that you can trash things like ice that don't have trash costs or operations, but it also does mean if you find a card that has a trash cost but has a cheaper res cost, you can technically save credits. However, the credits you have to use to do this trashing have to come from stealth cards. We herald the goddess. We've had text like this before that has been very relevant. So for instance, Freedom Kamalo had this text where you trash a card you're accessing for its res cost or play cost, not as trash cost. And some metas, this is an incredibly relevant ability because, well, we've had cards that had like the worst cursed ratios between res to trash costs. We have cards that trash for 5 but cost 0. And so the idea that like maybe you can trash wage workers for 2 instead of 4 might matter. Now, No Signal Games has brought down the trash costs of a lot of assets classically over the last couple of years. We still have some weird outliers, but the idea they can trash like a bladder wart or what is the NBO imbalance coverage for 1 instead of 3 sounds really good. But to be able to evaluate this, we obviously have to understand what our access is to stealth credits. And currently in standard, in Ash's standard, there's only 3 cards that generate stealth credits. I need to check Trickster Taka because Trickster Taka has a limitation on when you can use the credits. This is only during runs and it can be used on programs, so you're good to go. So this should work. And Trickster Taka is the only infinite stealth credit user besides Mantle. And I struggle to see Mantle being a good use case of this card because Mantle only generates 1 credit a turn. And so if you have only 2 Mantles, and if you're playing stealth, you might need your stealth credits in many different ways. You'll probably struggle to get 4 stealth credits to trash a nano management or something like that. So I don't fully understand that, which means we're going to rely on Trickster Taka. I don't get this card. I think the meta will tell you how useful this is. We already have enough disruption in Anarch with things like, Gourmand that I don't think I really need this card. I think the thing that's actually like the biggest bummer about this card and maybe this whole stealth cycle is I think it's going to mean that we're going to be relying on companions more in Anarch because I can't imagine that Trickster Taka is not going to be like a 2 to 3 of and a 2 of, at least in every stealth Anarch deck, which means we're going to be in the same situation where we're going to be playing a lot of Keiko, which throws up in own mouth. As much as maybe there'll be a better stealth console, it's hard to be better than this, which means, again, welcome to more years of playing the twinning ad infinitum, which that really doesn't do well for me. But it's really hard to see Stealth Anarch be in a world where we're not playing the twinning, where we're not playing Keiko, which pushes it back to like, Hoshiko Pile and all that sort of stuff. Time to start scape netting foxes. Yeah, like literally the worst timeline. Now, that being said, I have no doubt NSG knows about that, and we'll see what they do about exactly that. But this gets me a bit like, ugh, and pushes me in a weird direction where it's going to make us focus on cards that I think we want to move away from. Stealth Anarch is a thing right now, mind you, and it did okay at Worlds. Stealth actually did fine at Worlds, so there were some Mantle decks up there. But yeah, I don't understand why we need this, so the set will explain why. And the use case, if this is good, is probably not a great use case, as in like play Taka, play Companions, play Keiko. Seems like maybe a fine tech card to asset matchups for stealth decks. Like if they're Acity, you don't need the stealth for breakers. I mean, yeah, I guess, but like, is this better than just playing Fencer Fueno? Is this better than just playing Gourmands? I can't tell. But you're right. It's really cool that that's a way to use stealth credits in an asset matchup where stealth credits are not useful. And again, one of my favorite things that this card shows, that the next card shows as well, and we only have one like data point for this. Stealth classically used to be just like, all it did was it was a way to have breakers that were really, really good, but had limited charges functionally. Like Switchblade was very, very good, but the only way to make Switchblade good was to have stealth credits. And for the first 6 years of Netrunner, all stealth credits did were subsidize your abilities to break ice in a very, very meaningful way, but that's all they were. And we started to see a bit of this where it was like, what about if stealth credits weren't just about like ice breaking numbers, but they gave you access to interesting effects? And I'll be the first person to say Moose Safecracker is not an interesting effect exactly. But I think you know what I mean here, is that I would love it if stealth credits gave you access to different effects that were gated by access to, you know, stealth being a limited thing, more than just stealth being the I break ice good. Because I break ice good is not relevant in every single meta, and it also makes these sort of like, I would say Turbine-esque matchups where you're like, oh, they're on stealth and they're playing, you know, after image, half my ice is garbage. So at least that's really cool that NSG is pushing stealth in a non like efficiency angle, and I really do respect that. I think that's sick. It doesn't trash on empty. Yes, this is huge too. This is one of the first power counter cards we've seen in a long time that does not trash on empty, which is like such a big boon for Simulchip Anarch. It's a big boon. In theory, you can only charge cards if they have a counter on it. That's not relevant. But there's so many cards that were just like, I think so much less powerful, especially in a world of knickknack, that when they're empty, they just trash themselves, which just sucks for the way the Shaper works. It'll be banned again because it's going to be Great in Shaper again. What's being banned? Next up, this card. Oh, wow. The Anarch card is not here. So someone probably has an image of the Anarch card. I think it was showed on stream. Hold on, we can find it. But it's called Corsair, and I think it's the cooler of the two. It's a 3-cost Icebreaker Fractor. It's not stealth subtyped itself, which is kind of interesting. You'll notice that we have this like kind of, well, it's a mixture of this Greek tone, this underworld tone. Maybe I'm just playing too much Hades, so it blends together. But whether that we can get a read on if there's an Anarch runner in this pack, what their kind of tone is, I think is fascinating. This is a good Anna Botova art. This is card 4 for whatever it's worth. It breaks 1 for 1 subroutine. It comes in at 0 strength. And it has this fascinating ability that the barrier you are encountering gets -3 strength if you use a stealth credit for this encounter. And you can only use stealth credits. People shout out Worm, but playable. Worm was actually really relevant a couple years ago, but Worm had this sort of text, whereas one of the few icebreakers that could lower strength of ice instead of boosting its own strength, which like Worm is an AI icebreaker. Its numbers are cursed, like don't get me wrong, but the ability to lower strength on command is actually very relevant against not only like breaker math, it's kind of equivalent to increasing strength, but it means that you can do a lot of other interesting, fascinating things, right? Like you can chisel now consistently. So you can spend 2 stealth credits to chisel down any like big old brawn. That's kind of cool. It means that you can play Banner with some consistency, probably not, but you know, this has a limited strength. It gives you access to some cool tools in a weird way, which is kind of cool. Crewing down all the berries. Yeah, you can chisel and crew all the berries you want, which is kind of good fun. I think this card's fascinating. I don't know if you play it. Maskarovka is still 3 credits, which like, I don't know. Anarch's meant to be really good at breaking barriers. This is technically the best stealth Fractor I think we've seen in a long time, barring the one Shaper one. Literally just beat Cronus and Hades 2 about 10 minutes ago while watching a stream. Teamwork. Yo, I'll take that. That's sick. It doesn't work with Chisel? Oh, because it's the barrier you are encountering, not on encounter. That's really, really good. Shout out. Yeah. Kessleroid. Yeah, Kessleroid's really annoying. You break it for 3 credits, which is where it wants to be. And then Kessleroid makes more sense in startup, which is good. Yeah, this card is definitely neat. I like this design. I can't tell how good it is. I think it's going to matter based off of what other cards care about, you know, -3 strength and what kind of access you have to stealth in Anarch. Because currently, again, there's only 3 cards we know of that generate stealth credits, and you need those for this card to be playable. You also have to watch out. This is a big thing that comes up with stealth. It's very easy to put all the stealth cards together, and then you end up in a deck that has every card needs stealth, but your deck only has a limited stealth output per turn. And so often what ends up stealth decks only have 1 or 2 ways to sink stealth credits, but then have, you know, the same amount of stealth credit generators. So just watch out. Jamming every single stealth card in a deck does not work the same way that you build these higher synergy decks with like Sabotage. It doesn't always work out that well because if everything needs stealth, it's just the same way. Like if you add every charge card to a Pudma deck, you realize you can only charge 1 card a turn, so it doesn't actually work out well. But this card's neat. I like this design a lot. Speaking of the designs I like a lot, holy Pat, if you're here, who wrote the flavor text on this? This is like my favorite NSG flavor text. It's so good. Superpositional Cyclotron. And this is also what I mean. I'm pretty sure that like the cards are locked. Like I think the design on the set is probably done because the art is there, the formatting is there, everything is locked in. Superpositional Cyclotron is non-unique, but that doesn't, oh, it actually could matter. It actually could matter. That's kind of cool. 3 cost, 3 trash. So good numbers on both sides, I guess. The cyclotron's utility was discovered after its magnets quenched during load testing, resulting in 1,600 tons of liquid helium venting directly into Heinlein tenements and an anomalous 13-second local time loss. An apology was issued, funerals were covered, and funding was rerouted to recreate the error at scale. Flavor text is so good, like such a good sci-fi story. It leaves a lot for like, you know, your own interpretation. Recreate the error at scale. Yeah, it's so good. Flavor text is so good on this. It says the first double you play each turn costs a click less to play. That's interesting text. Doubles have been around for a long time. Currently in standard, there's only 5.5 doubles on the corporation side, and most of them don't see any play. But the idea with this card on the table, you gain a click a turn, which a 3-credit gain a click a turn card seems about fairly costed for this game. Now, this is where I don't understand what came first, because let's look at the doubles, and one of them that comes up was touch-ups banned before this card was designed. Oh, it does not stack? Why not? It looks like it should, right? The first double costs a click less. So if you had 2, why wouldn't it bring it down to 0? It's not unique. Why wouldn't this stack? Right, like imagine touch-ups wasn't banned. Touch-ups becomes a seamless launch that takes 2 cards out of the runner's hand. Oh, the click to play the event is not the cost. Oh, that makes sense. Because you're playing the action, but the cost of the card takes another click. Yeah, that's not super intuitive, but I get it. I kind of get it. That's not super intuitive. A lot of people think playing the click is the cost of the card, but it's a click to play the card. Yeah, okay, well, fine. I don't like it, but I get it. It's a silly rule, and I think we'll have something that's clarified before final printing. I like that a lot. Well, yeah, was touch-ups banned before this card was like locked in? Yo, Sad Stug, sorry that you're feeling under the weather at Worlds. Hopefully you're feeling better now. Because like, was this meant to be around as a 3 influence, which might not be that good, but like seamless launch you can play that takes 2 cards out? Anyways, let's look at the doubles. Let's do, also I want to shout this card out because it's really funny. Starlight. They had a card almost like this, but maybe a bit better on the runner side, and this card was Dog Water. It was really, really fun. But this was any double you play, and it was a resource, so the corporation didn't have to protect it. But this was never good. There was only like maybe 3 to 4 doubles on the runner side that would ever like competitive standard play. But we're doing it on the corp side, which is really, really cool. If you have 2, it should work for triples. It does say doubles on it, but I mean, you wish. It's not even seamless launches shipment from Sansan. Well, it's a click for 2, right? It's a click for 2. So no, it is seamless launch, isn't it? Touch-ups isn't banned in startup, so go off king. I mean, I don't love that. But sorry, we're meant to look at the doubles. So let's go T double D corp Z standard. K double? That didn't work. What's the subtype? S double? Did I not do that? I did T, right? Should be S. 1 second. Okay, these are all the doubles. So let's talk about the ones we want to play. Secure and Protect, probably not. Touch-ups, banned. Mitosis, doesn't matter. Distributed Tracing actually might matter. It's kind of cursed that HB can have a card that just gives you a tag. This card's always been cursed, but now it's worse. Pivot, interesting, but in an HB deck makes a bit less sense, but not the worst that you can pivot for a single click to go get a fully operational from your deck, I guess. And Corporate Hospitality for a single click is kind of weird, because the same thing, you can just get your fully operationals back. Interesting, but I have no doubt we're going to see at least 2 or 3 doubles alongside this, and we will see one in a moment. This card on its own, probably not worth a slot in the modern meta, but I have no doubt there'll be a double meta that HB is playing. Really interesting. HB, again, if you're not playing efficiency, I usually don't like what HB has been doing in a while. And this feels kind of like a mixture of efficiency and nonsense, which maybe I'll be happy with that. But it's kind of neat. Mitosis Isowak coming to meta near you. I think Isowak actually can do some cool stuff with one of the cards that were coming up. Honestly, I don't even know if you need Mitosis, but there's something there. The distributed is going to matter for sure. Distributed could easily matter because you can just cheese someone. You can do distributed. You can do a 5 damage combo if you put your mind to it. Like distributed tracing into, you know, you just keep spamming this thing that does core damage. Like it seems kind of silly. Whatever it's called. The one that hypoxia. Like you can do distributed hypoxia and the line. That's your combo deck. Like I don't get it. But hypoxia and distributed tracing have never sat well with me. Card's neat. It's neat, but this is the one that really matters here. Flood the market, enhance. Oops, not like that. 3 cost, NBN double, 3 pips of influence. It's a double, so it costs 2 clicks. Art is from Dimmick. Choose 1 installed card you can advance. Place 1 advancement counter on that card for each remote server that has a card in its route and is protected by ice. There's a tipping point where an ad becomes so omnipresent it's subliminal. So it's the text of fully operational. We know there's HB decks that go out of the way to make fully operational make sense. Because it's such a powerful effect. And there's a lot of decks that fire fully operational with consistency. And so if they're setting up for this board state, they're by definition setting up for this board state. And this card easily can be 1 click, if not 2 clicks usually, for somewhere between 3 to 4 advancements, which means it's easy for you to fast advance 3/2s. I had the pleasure of playing against AMS. AMS fast advanced Luminal with this, and it was correct. It was really, really good. Also, a huge shout out to AMS. AMS is the best. This seems good. This seems really good. I think for 3 influence, there's a chance you'll see this anywhere. Like this could be an AU code card. They set up that board state and they want to do weird combo things. NBN is a bit tricky because they don't set up this board state that well, but like HB seems like the natural place to put it. Luckily it's influence, but it is a strong win condition. I want to be clear. I played against AMS and I played on the runner side and I didn't play any of the stealth cards. I just ended up playing a good Maggie deck and the stealth cards did not come out. But as soon as the Flood the Market got played and I learned about the card, I just chased down every other remote server. And if they spend too much influence on Flood the Market, the rest of their win con falls apart. So I just trashed like the Refuge campaign. I trapped the Superpositional. I charged every Spin Doctor. And then the deck struggles a bit on multiple angles because both of their power cards fall apart. But I have no doubt this card will see play in some very competitive decks. And it can see play in almost any faction. Funny enough, in Issaquah, this can actually fast advance 3-point agendas, which is kind of buck wild, as long as you can set up the board state. But the question is, who sets up that board state that well? Yeah, Onion, if Epiphany puts more ice, like maybe. But this card is just very, very, very good. And it is an obvious win condition that is worth building around out of the gate. So it's good to know it's there. That is a very, very, very powerful card. Humanoid into Superpositional and Flood the Market. There's no window to res it, Vectors. How's it going, by the way? It's good to see you. There's no window after the Humanoid to res the Superpositional to fire the Flood. So it doesn't work. You have to figure it out. Kante FA Issaquah. Oh, if Issaquah says not installed that turn. Yeah, never mind. You're right. Issaquah has more text. Notably, Fully Op gives you 1 for free and this doesn't. Correct. Yeah, Fully Op has like a fail state. This does nothing. But that being said, if you have a card that you're advancing, it's probably behind ice. So it kind of gives you 1. But the idea is that like this is technically another seamless launch as long as you have another iced server, which isn't the hardest thing to do if you get some stinker in a remote server. Yeah. Anyways, so far from the cards we've seen, like this is more of a mystery what's going on here with the stealth stuff. And like the background of Keiko and Taka is making me less happy about it. This card's weird. The other card's really interesting. Corsair's a really cool stealth card. And this stuff is fascinating. Like, again, this naturally works in the deck because with Flood the Market's really quite good. But these are cards that are exactly the sort of cards that you show Andre and Andre gets excited for deck building, which like really, really glad that they showed some powerful, interesting, and very, very, very big stuff here. Yeah, Deadman, I left to eat lunch and came back to spoilers. That is exactly what happened. 4 spoiler cards are on Reddit. We might do a video about this in the near future, but these were really cool to see. I'm still waiting on a card to print put card on table that doesn't count as install. Oh my god, Holloman pops off. I lost the game to Ish on stream last year, signed my sign book, the rules text of Issaquah. I'm very excited for Flood the Market. Yeah, this is going to be big for, again, I think this card is worth pursuing in just about any faction that can make any sense. AUCO is also very good at doing this, so that's like a thing. So you can set up, you see how they run combos really, really aggressively. Like there's something to that for sure. But this card's very good. Very, very, very good. Cool. Anyways, day 2, man, I have to like wrap this relatively soon and we're only starting the Swiss days. So the day starts, it's first day of Swiss. We wake up pretty early. I have a call at like 8:30, I think, to be there as a volunteer. I think Jeff sleeps through his alarm. I'm like, I should have knocked on Jeff's doors to check, but Jeff makes it on time. Bless Jeff. So we get there. And day's good. I get my schedule for streaming. There's like 6 casters. My schedule is a bit cursed. I'm on for like the first 2 rounds and then basically the last 2 rounds. So there's like maybe 6 hours or 7 hours in the middle of the day that I'm just like walking around having fun, which is nice. But yeah, it's like very strange because people asking me like, oh, you must have been commentating all day. I'm like, no, I did 2 rounds. I'm kind of just chilling for a big time. First rounds on stream are really nice. I get to commentate with Cranked. Very cool games. The first game was Seth versus Ashley, who ended up on stream, just kind of random. You can grab someone, anyone can end up on stream. It was a fun game, interesting game. Hey, Jello. Round 2 was a really cool game. It was between 2 great players. And I think this is our natural like segue into what the meta was. It was Augustus Caesar versus Bridgman. And Augustus Caesar is playing Restoring Humanity Glacier, which was one of the secret decks that a lot of testing teams were keeping close to their chest. So the Sokka Bridgman, that whole testing team had their RH. Tiebreakers had their Glacier RH. And even Snare Bears had a Glacier RH. And they all differed, and they're all really, really fascinating. But they all kind of came to this conclusion somewhat separately that this was a good deck to bring to the meta. For those who don't know, at the meta breakdown, Elia was the top present deck, followed by AUCO. And then RH was like one of the 3rd most popular decks. I think we can see the distribution here on ABR. I think that's correct. Yeah, there we have, oh, sorry, that's Anarch side. It's Leo, AUCO, and then Restoring Humanity at 40 players, 11%, followed by PD. I think most of the PD decks were playing like core damage PD, which I think worked really, really well. But this RH deck is really weird. I wonder, did anyone publish their RH decks? Since Superpositional Cyclotron is card number 27 in the set, it probably means Vantage Point is much smaller set comparatively. Well, it's not a cycle, so I'm assuming that means it's going to be about 60 cards, like 60, 65 cards, and then it won't be part of a cycle. It's a standalone thing, which like, if that just means we get cards faster, I'm down for it. I don't think we need to be stuck in this whole cycle thing. Like NSG's in this really weird space where they're super used to putting on these like 120 card blocks because that's what FFG did. There is no reason they have to do that. And I'm very interested to see them moving away from that. It's the most boring deck ever. I disagree. Let's open a couple of them. I don't think Snare Bears didn't publish theirs. I think their point is that they're already at corp cards at 27. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. So it's probably about like 55 cards, maybe a bit less. Okay. So there's a couple lists. This is not the sort of list I want to look at. I guess we're not going to find the list that I want to look at. But from my understanding, the Tiebreakers deck was running Proprietary Negation. And same with the Sokka's team, which I don't know the name of their team, excuse me. But the decks were running Proprietary Negation. And this is a strong 4-2 that like, you know, functionally ends a run and puts a runner on archives. And so what a lot of people would do is they would put Scary Ice on archives. But the really cool tech that I didn't understand that you could do that we were learning is that there was a really cool tech card, which was Afroon. And Afroon showed up a fair bit in the meta because Afroon, when you res this, you can trash a card from your hand, which is fine for RH. Then you pick a card and their ability cannot break subroutines for the remainder of that run. If you're expecting a lot of people to be on dolls on Matryoshka, this was a cool thing to do because you basically say you can't use the dolls anymore. And then the text on this being both a barrier and a code gate is less relevant because they might have another breaker. But the cooler thing is that unbanned, yeah, thank you, that's the name. The coolest thing is that in that paid ability window that you res the Afroon on approach, you can now fire the Proprietary Negation and then throw the runner on archives and put them in a situation where you just say you can't use your killer, let alone you can't use your Matryoshka. So suddenly they find themselves face tanking into something disgusting like, you know, Cloud Eater was very relevant at Worlds and it has to fire, which means you end up trashing something important like a stack of dolls or their most important program. And then all this garbage text fires as well. And they can't jack out. I've never seen it, but the Proprietary Negation half run tech, it was like really, really wild. I heard from the Tiebreakers that they played like 2 to 3 half runes in most of their decks. It only fired like, they only half ruined dolls maybe 2 or 3 times. I think it was maybe an overcompensation, but I think that it's a legitimate play pattern that not a lot of people are expecting. And so a whole bunch of people were playing the Proprietary Negation list. And it was doing quite well. Let me see if I can open. Yeah, you're right. I can open the deck lists here. So let's go to where would I have to go? Pairings, I think. Can I see the deck lists? Yeah, I want to see Cable's list because I find this to be so funny. Cable playing Runner, Cable playing Court. Now, this is the Bears list. And we're laughing about this because the Bears list is playing Sisyphus Protocol. If you don't know Sisyphus, it's like a super cursed deck, cursed idea. It's a 5-2. Sleeper was playing this as well in the top cut. And it's a 5-2 when you score it. The first time you hit a code gate or sentry, you can pay your credit or trash a card, and then runner has to do it again. And so this is another way that you can take your ice, which is like not super impactful, like an Empiricist or a Vampiranasse or an Attini. Yeah, you could run through it if you put your mind to it, but can you run through it twice? And the answer is not really. And as long as you can step one score Sisyphus, the deck gets really gross. I think Cable Carnage was laughing about this list because it was like the least reasonable version of the list in the room. Like people are playing Sensible Tech and playing, you know, Proprial Negation. And then the Snare Bears version is on like 3 Sisyphus protocols, 2 copies of Cloud Eater. We're playing like damn Myco Web is in the list, like Konjin. It is just like the most pointy version of the list. And it was doing really, really well. And I very much like the 3 seamless launches to give yourself a bit more reach, because if you don't get that Sisyphus, you kind of don't have a deck. And scoring at the first Sisyphus is really, really, really difficult. But the Cloud Eaters were very, very good on the day. And I do think playing 2 Cloud Eaters might have been correct. And the Myco Web actually was kind of good. Shout out to the one game Myco Web just kind of flatlined on stream. I think it was Benvelopment. B-Blum ran into the Myco Web and just died to the Sisyphus counter, which is pretty rough. 15 damage Myco Web was a sight to behold. Yeah, there's some really, really, really bad Myco Web hits in this deck. List is also an Oncel as a sentry, which is kind of really cool because the Oncel subber team is worth copying with Myco Web because it just trashes a card. So that's kind of nice. And then you have to play like an MIC, so you have an end to run code gate. I really like this list. Did really quite well. I think Cable was the only bear to be playing the list. It still loses games, and I think you can talk to any RH player that you just lose games sometimes on centrals. Like not much you can do about it. And I think that's what I kind of want to say about the meta that I saw from a distance that I heard from other players. And you can see it on stream a fair bit. We had some really good games on stream, but we also had games on stream where you could tell that the corporation just mulliganed bad or drew bad, and then you kind of get a non-game. I'm not 100% sure why that is, besides that's just kind of how Netrunner is. But like if you just draw bad, your opponent usually gets an engine that pushes them forward, and you're just kind of like still on the starting block trying to set up. And generally you have like this, you know, game step 1, do part of your game plan. And if you can't get to step 1, you don't get to step 2. And sure, if your deck is like score Proprial Negation to have text, or like score Sisyphus, heaven forbid, some of the games become non-games. And I think we saw on stream, same with AUCO, which was another issue, is that there's a bunch of AUCO games where if you don't start well, you don't get counters. And if you don't get counters, you don't have an IV text. I think we saw AUCO games on stream, including the finals, unfortunately, where AUCO fires like 1.5 times all game. And I felt like at this Worlds, bad opening draw was one of the most impactful things in any matchup I saw, which I don't know why this World it resonated more than other Worlds. I don't know whether it was like Corps don't have ways to catch up. I don't know whether the Corp game plans were linear enough or too linear that like really felt bad. But from what I observed and when I talked to people, like, yeah, bad draw was like, felt way worse at this event than any other event. This is what we talked about earlier on the stream, whether like we should challenge the mulligan rules to have partial mulligans. Yeah, maybe not having a Rashido is the one panic button. Maybe that's an interesting way. It's like Rashido allowed you to fix bad hands. But there was a lot of games we saw on stream, like the game, I was so excited for the second game on stream for day 1, which was Augustus versus Bridgman. And there was one very exciting run, but I don't think there was a line of play that Augustus could have done to win that game after he drew that way. And it was the same for a couple games on stream. Like I could see your hand as a corporation. I don't think there was plays you can make with your hand that win you the game. And it's just unfortunate. It felt worse this year than any other year on both sides of the table, I think. Yeah, it's pronounced AUCO. I'm now saying it correctly. Shout out to the one YouTube commenter. A lot of people are still saying AUCO. Do you, but I've changed teams. So another Myco Web kill in a day 2 Swiss round from Cable. Yo, let's go. Myco Web tech. We did not put it low on our tier. We did not know that Myco Web was getting played. The Bangoon versus Sable game was also cooked. Yeah, I think the opponent conceded. The corporation conceded that game. For what it's worth, that game I think was a bit of an accident. I'm not sure. Like that game was a much lower table. I don't know why it ended up on stream, whether it was an accident or not, but generally you want to get games on stream from higher tables. But I think the corporation was like 1 in 4 going onto a stream game, which like, I don't know. Sometimes you have a bad day. Maybe they just want to see Bangoon on stream, but the corporation ended up conceding that game. It was kind of a non-game. For what it's worth with Bangoon, if you have 3 agendas, I think you just install 3 face-up agendas on the table and say, I don't care. Like Bangoon does have an out button, but that was like a matchup that I don't think should have been on stream, unfortunately. I think the fixed table numbering confused the comms team. Tables 1 to 13. Oh, that's why. Yeah, because they went over to tables 1 to 13, but some of them were fixed seating tables. They assumed that they were high tier tables. But yeah, I try not to ask like, you know, somebody at You try to ask players who I don't know where I'm going with the sentence. It wasn't a great game of Netrunner, but the mulligan was the biggest part of that for sure. Yeah, I think they learned after that, but yeah, interesting. Anyways, the day's starting really well for Snare Bear's team. I commentated for my first 2 games. Again, the second game I was super stoked for it, but it wasn't that much of a game. There was like one good Adrian Sace play, and that was what it came down to. Finn face tanks the Cloud Eater and just says "F it, it's firing," which was the play, and then wins an Adrian Sace, and that was hype. But there wasn't really a Netrunner game besides that one turn. Then I'm off and I'm walking around, meeting a lot of nice people, dropping by the artist colony, watching a lot of games. I said this earlier, but there's 3 rooms now on day 2 because we have 360 players. Day 1 is in the main Dovecot studio space, which is really nice. Day 2 is the women's baths, the ladies' baths, which is the room that is not the nice room to play Netrunner in. And that's where you go if your table's 1 to 100, you're in the main room. About 100 to, I think, 200, you're in the ladies' baths. And if you're 200 to whatever's left, you're on the mezzanine, which are people are playing on the balcony above the main room, which is the quietest and the nicest place. And there's even like art installations on all the walls. So you're kind of playing in an art gallery and you have all this air, all this, it's quieter up there. It's the nicest place. And yeah, it's like the unfortunate thing is if you end up in the ladies' baths, either you need to win all your games or you need to lose all your games if you don't want to be in the ladies' baths anymore. Again, I want to say Article 1, Article 1, Article 1. But yeah, that was the third space opened up on the day, and the third space was hella sick. I ended up like hanging out on the third space, talking to people. I played a game up there with Eric Hayden. It was just really quite nice. Yo, not Yeti. Enjoyed having you in the EA house. I talked about it earlier because we're doing linear storytelling, but I want to be very clear. Like being so welcomed on that Thursday, getting in so tired at 7 in the morning, like the EA Sports house like made the whole weekend. Very, very, very kind. Honestly, so funny to have players that did as mediocre as me coming to me at my table and being like, "Whoa, I didn't realize I was doing that good." Wait, were you at fixed seating tables? Article 1 is something we said at the beginning of the stream where Worlds was a huge success. And anytime that we're going to have some minor quibbles, we need to remind people that Worlds was a monumental effort from a lot of people. And it like went unimaginably well. The day continues. I get back on for some more commentary later on in the day. I think I'm on the 2 rounds after dinner. So I'm spending most of my day just hanging out. I get volunteer food. The volunteer food's really good. Nothing too big, but the Bears are doing really well. Shout out specifically Analyze Chris, hasn't lost a game. You need to make, there's 11 rounds of single-sided Swiss on day 1, and to be invited back to play 3 more rounds of single-sided Swiss on day 2, you need at least 7 wins, 21 points. So you need to win 7 out of your 11 games, which is approachable if you're a competitive player. But it is a fierce room for sure. And then still you want to try and compete for a top 16, which is very, very difficult. But at the end of like the day, going into dinner, Analyze Chris hasn't lost a game, which is buck wild. Rest of our teammates are doing really, really well. Chris is just like killing it, doing very, very good. I assumed he would be pretty jet lagged because he came in again last night or last morning to play COS. And the day just continues. I don't have too much to say, I don't think. I hope I'm not forgetting anything. But at the end of the day, like we look at the standings, Chris went the whole day undefeated. We're ready for day 2. We go home. It ends really late, but not later schedule. Like everyone showed up on time. Lunch was even longer than expected. Everything is running really, really, really well. But yeah, things are good. We end up going home and do more testing. And I think I just want to take a second here to shout out the Snare Bears. Going into day 2, everybody at the apartment I was staying in made day 2. Besides me and Jeff, who were not playing. Like just incredible. There was 8 Bears playing at the tournament. 7 of them came back for day 2. So everybody in the apartment is testing. We're getting more games in. There's a pizza run. Shout out to Kat and Rodum who went and grabbed good pizza. We're hanging out. We're talking. There's now some scotch involved. And people are just continuing to grind games, if I'm remembering it correctly. Day 2, the energy is pretty good. We're now undefeated. Technically, Analyze Chris can show up and play no games. He can just go for a walk if he wants to. Oh, on day 1, too, I end up running into, I want to say Jeremy is correct, but if you saw that there was somebody there, a documentarian, can I find it? Yeah, this is Jeremy Wilker, who was at the Magnum Opus, the last FFG World in 2018, and was filming this documentary. And the documentary never came out. That's Jeremy. And Jeremy wanted to continue filming this documentary and raised some money on Kickstarter. And what he's doing is he's working on editing together the footage from 2018 and piecing it together with the footage of what was meant to be the last world back in 2018 and now filming here in 2025, you know, like 8 years later or whatever. Yeah, that's right. Um, and so I did an interview with Jeremy. I think Jeremy recognized me as a content creator. He's like, hey, I want to talk to you for an interview. And I did an interview. And I spent some good time talking with Jeremy. And it was actually very touching. I'll be honest, when I first kind of was told this from a distance, like, hey, somebody filmed documentary footage from 2018 from one of your memories and now wants money to is asking you money to release that footage, that felt a bit like weird. But then I watched, because there's a big part of the cut of the documentary is already here, and then realized how thoughtfully it was put together. And I was like, wait, no, this is not what it sounds like. And then he was raising money to continue to go off, and mind you, he's freelance, to film more of the documentary. And it was talking to him is really nice. And the majority of the conversation was it was about why the Netrunner community is the way it is. And from where he's coming from, it was just, again, very, very thoughtful and very nice. And it was just meant to be a study of like, why is the Netrunner community so different than so many other card games and so many other places? And I'm very excited to see what comes from this. The old footage, let on the new footage. He was there the whole weekend carrying a massive camera. Anytime anything came up that he didn't understand fully, he would ask questions. And every once in a while, I'd tap on the shoulder and say like, oh, there's this thing going on. You should know that these two players, there's a narrative behind them, something like that. But he was like super invested, and it was like really nice for him to be there the whole weekend. Anyways, I'm very excited for whenever this comes out. I know that he has a lot of footage to look through, but that was very, very cool. That happened on Saturday. Where do people take the energy from to grind more than after that much Netrunner? Turdock, we'll come back to that because the energy doesn't go away. I was shattered after 11 rounds of Netrunner. Non-stop, we keep playing Netrunner into the night. I think he interviewed like 46 people-ish. Someone in my Airbnb was one of the last. Oh, super cool. That's really, really cool. Yeah, he's talking to a lot of people, which is quite nice. Anyways, day 2 starts. You have to play 3 more rounds to make the top 16. We have, again, 7 bears in contention here. And unfortunately, a lot of them are playing each other. And they're good games, I hear. But we end up, I think Rongi has to play round 1 against D and then round 2 against Dave. Maybe I have that backwards. And then finally, we have a top 16 cut. And there's 16 players. Talked about this earlier. The pronoun meta, real messed up. All he, him. Whoops. That's not good. And we have all players who weren't at the top 16 last year. Some very strong players, a lot of European players. Unfortunately, some of the Bears don't make it. We have 3 players from the Bears make top 16, and a couple from the testing team make top 32. I just want to take a second here. And again, I take no credit to this because I barely did any testing for Worlds, but nearly half the Snare Bears that showed up made top 16, which is absurd. Like, shout out to the team, just like putting the reps in, just grinding. But again, we had 8 players show up, 3 of them made top 16. Nearly half the players playing made top 16, which is just like the most absurd conversion rate. Shout out to everyone who's playing so well. Chris went on to not lose a game. The absolute king of Swiss. ID'd his last 2 rounds against, I want to say, Kikai, and I don't know who the last player is. Ended up playing against Chris Dyer, who I got to admit, Chris Dyer, Niemanaya, a world champion almost twice in a row, or at least twice. I don't think I met Chris Dyer in person. Really nice to talk to. Lovely dude. But we found out who the better Chris was. That just naturally happened. That's kind of cool. But yeah, makes it into the top 16, and top 16 is off. And I'm doing some commentary for the first couple rounds. We have some really good rounds on stream. By the time I get off of my 2 rounds on stream, the Snare Bear Massacre happened, and every single Snare Bear is removed from top 16 just that quickly, losing 2 rounds immediately. I talked about this earlier on the stream. I don't know if you listened to everything, but I talked about like how much Swiss. It's like, I didn't hear at all this from Analyze Chris, but like, I feel so bad because Analyze Chris goes the whole weekend going undefeated and then plays 2 rounds in the top cut and immediately gets eliminated. So like his standing is like what? Technically 12-2. And then just gets kicked out of the top cut, which like just feels bad. But this is what I mean. And like, maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from, where like, I want Swiss to matter more, because again, going 14 games in a row, not losing a game is almost unheard of in world history. And unfortunately that did not cash out in a super meaningful way, but I don't have like, there's nothing Chris should be not proud of. Absolutely killer run for sure. I kind of hit cuts for this reason. Yeah, it's a bit, it's just 2 games, like going like functionally 14-2 and then not like converting meaningfully, like feels bad, but it is what it is. Can we actually formally start abolish top cuts? I think people will consider it, but like, yeah, anyways, shout out to the team. They just did absolutely incredibly. And it's not like I even think the finishing matters so much. I think also just like spending the whole weekend with all these folks who are just like so positive, like having a good time, so kind, like it is just kind of the best. There should be separate prizes for Top of Swiss. I wouldn't mind that. I think a Top of Swiss prize is like really, really kind of cool. That'd be great. But by the time I come off comms, all the bears are out. And so they kind of disappeared and they went off to a distillery to just like get dinner and have drinks and like just like, you know, get over it. And I think they had a really nice time. Jeff and I get photoshopped into the image, which is cute. And by the time they come back, like I run into Cable, who comes back after drinking a whole bunch of scotch and he's like having a good time and seems like to be in good spirits, but the top cut continues. So I'm back on for the top cut only for the finals. We get some really good games on camera, which again, you can watch all this sort of stuff. A lot of really cool AUCO games. Bao's like didn't hit the button, which was so annoying, but takes a game off of Kikai and they pop off and go for a hug. But some really great games. And then there's the lower finals where Run Archives Trat dies to Double Fuji Foot, which is something you have to play around. It's like 7 damage, just flatlines there. And before we know it, we're at a finals between Davs, who is definitely a favorite, who's been playing just killer Netrunner. Has only been playing for about 2 years now. And then on the other side, we have a player I didn't know a lot about, Zomsraft, who seems to be from Sweden, who's just been playing some of the best Netrunner I've seen on stream. Like, I think we had one of those non-games, unfortunately, where like Sleeper draws into 3 agendas and Zomsraft just sits across playing this like really fascinating Hoshiko deck and just kind of takes it apart. Plays like a very good Judo-esque kind of fork Netrunner that I really, really appreciate. I think the list is probably, was the Vampire list published? Maybe it's not. Did the list not get published? No. Does Zomsraft only publish one side? The finals game, it's not the best game, I don't think, of Netrunner. I think we've got so lucky over the last couple of years that the finals games have been incredibly hype. Just very, very good Netrunner. Whether it's like, oh my God, the most respect for Cable Carnage, could have been a world champ if he just clicked for 4 credits slower, but didn't want to win on time. And then the last year too, like hour 40-minute, really good game between D and Arizon. But this finals game, I think it's still definitely worth watching, but like AUCO fires 1.5 times. We get a really good start there. I guess I should shout out the Bling won Worlds, which like I still don't fully understand. And I think the games that we saw Bling on camera just weren't great Bling games. I'm convinced Keiko would have been better, which is like my fear about Anarch in general. But I imagine this is much better into other matchups. But that's kind of really weird. But the finals was one-sided. And if you watch the finals, the winning play is Run Archives, and there's just 2 points in it. And that's the game. Generally, when someone wins Worlds, there's meant to be this pop-off, but you could tell me and Izzy, who are on comms, were like, oh, we have a world champion. And like, it gets us by surprise. And then the energy doesn't like kick in until a bit later. But it was just like a bit of a anticlimactic finish compared to, I think we've been so lucky last couple of years to just have absolute banger games. But Zomsraft just plays really, really clean Netrunner and scoring 1 false lead, just waiting for the Oppo researches, not finding the Oppo researches. I think Dabs does the best, but doesn't have too much to show for it. But played incredible Netrunner to get there. Fantastic both players. I think we couldn't ask for better players in the top cut. Zomsraft gives a great interview. I wish I asked more questions. I wish I did a better sign off on the stream. I wasn't prepared to do it, but there's so many people to thank. I feel like I didn't do a great job there. Illumination to AUCO is cursed. Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't get to see the single Illumination. I heard the deck originally was on 2 Illuminations, and I think Illumination got cut. One of the Illumination got cut for triple pinhole, which like I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Winning against 2 scored false leads is kind of big. I think it was only 1 false lead though. I'm not sure if it was double false lead, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Somebody did put Bling in A tier. I'm not even convinced Bling is A tier. I don't know why it exists in the deck, but it's a deck I want to play more of for sure. It looks really interesting. Shout out to Mulch as well. But yeah, that was the finals. And I think like after that, like I'm so happy Zomsraft won. The vibe was really good. Worlds ended like at 6 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. Everyone had really good energy. People were very, very happy for like having the Swedish winner that people didn't see coming. The coolest thing from my understanding is like Trat and Zomsraft I think are in the same meta, and so they like having their like upper finals be against players who match up on weeklies, I think, or players who know each other. It's just like such a cool vibe. The Epiphany game was really fascinating up there too. I'm pretty sure it was double. Okay, it was double false lead. Yeah, at that point, like I think you're still okay. Because I don't think the credits were there to do the combo. Bling gets you cards in the bin faster, and sometimes you draw cards you want to play. I totally get it. It's just like on stream, we saw the Bling get like every pinhole. One of them was played. Otherwise, it trashed every pinhole, which kind of sucked. And then there was a bunch of turns where the Bling was refused, where it was like, no, I don't want to fire Bling because I don't want to mill my deck. Shout out for Startup going longer than the main event. I have no idea how Startup went, but that's really, really funny. Nick Mason identity theft is wild. All the way to 2310 to get a username. Yeah, it was an interesting finals. It was a bit one-sided, unfortunately, but I think we were maybe one combo turn away from it being a problem. But I think Zomdraft just had it on lock for sure. And you know what? At the end of the day, like I went back to the Snare B&B. Jeff and I grabbed whatever pizza was left and got absolutely like harangued by everyone on the street walking home. It kind of sucked. And we brought in this massive pizza and everyone's on the couch, and I thought things would be dire, but the vibes were just really good. Everyone was happy. Worlds was a nice place. Everyone had a great time. I'm so proud of the team. They did phenomenally. I cannot imagine better folks to spend a weekend with. And the funniest thing is that night after dinner and after drinks, do you know who's playing Netrunner? Like Ian and Chris are just sitting at the kitchen table still playing more Netrunner, which is like always the thing after any event. The one thing you want to do is just play more Netrunner, because Ian writes, I shit on his scrub ass. That is also like the coolest thing about Chris. And I mean this with like, you know, it sounds like a backhanded compliment, but like Chris keeps getting up. Like he was playing against you the other day, playing like RH Glacier, or sorry, playing against Cable. And he's just like playing Sable into it, gets smashed. He's like, do it again, get smashed, do it again. And he's walking to the kitchen like the deck is fucked, can't beat it. And then like he does it. He just does it. He's the player who's like, I think the happiest to lose and get up and do it again. And I think it really paid off. Shout out also to obviously Rangi, who played phenomenally all weekend, to Cable, who did great. And of course, all the other Bears players who just played their asses off, did really, really well. Again, cannot imagine a better folks to hang out a weekend with. I left the Monday morning. Airport, have to get there at like 7, really early. Our car's at like 6:15. Kyle sleeps through his alarm. I have to like wake him up with a flashlight. He thinks he's being arrested. It's very funny. And then we'd get out. It's like so fog. You can't see like 6 feet in front of you. We ordered a car, took us to the airport. Really funny. I was on the same flight as like Sokka and Brandon. And so Sokka's message is like, hey, if you want, meet me and Brandon. And because Brandon is visually impaired, they walk him through security and everything, so he doesn't wait in lines. Well, I thought it was really funny. We didn't come to that, but we're on the same plane coming back as like, we ran into Peter H at the airport, which is really nice. Peter H is great. But we were on the same flight as like Sokka, and Dio was there, same flight as the King, as Brandon. And Ghost Meat was there, so we're all flying back. And it was nice coming to Toronto. We get to figure out how it works, where like Brandon gets to like navigate through Air Canada, and it was nice. Sokka has like access to lounges at airports, and so it was me and Ghost Meat and Sokka. Sokka's like, come into this lounge, and he's like, I'll bring you in. I have some extra passes. So it was really nice. After we were at a nice lounge in Toronto, and we go for like lunch and drinks and stuff. It was very, very cute. And then they fly back to the West Coast, and I eventually end up in Montreal, which is quite nice. Did they show you the karaoke videos? No, not at all. Bringing up flight home to Reading got giga delayed. Oh, no way. Shout outs to Peter H. Yeah, Peter H was great. There's a lot of really nice people, and I don't have time, unfortunately. Like, I'm going to forget people and feel bad, but there's so many people that I had really nice conversations with. Peter H is definitely one of them. But just to like to catch up, because you don't see them all the time, to talk about the meta, that sort of stuff. Just very, very good. There's definitely things I forgot. Picked up a lot of nice prizing and a lot of stuff from the artist colony. Got some really nice gifts. We'll be able to show all this sort of stuff, I think, on stream in the near future. But yeah, that was Worlds. Huge success. And like, you leave Worlds and all you want to do is play more Netrunner and just like do it again. And like, you know, we'll see you next year in Montreal, we can hope. But again, Article 1, a massive success. The amount of work it takes to put all this together, and it went nearly flawlessly. Like, honestly, running on schedule that ahead of time for 360 people, it makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense, and I don't know how people did it, and they did a great job. Shout out to all the volunteers. Shout out to all the judges, their volunteers, the stream team, all the people who came out. And just like coming out is the reason this stuff happens at this scale. It was low-key would want another Worlds in a month. Yeah, I hear you. I would go back in a month. I'd go back in 2 weeks. Always get really sad after a Netrunner event. Can't believe I'm not going to see a bunch of these people into districts, but even much worse, I won't see into Worlds or UK Nats. Yeah, I know, but it, you know, like, you'll see them again for sure. The T1L1 table was really great as well. I don't know what that is. Saw the cosplay contest on stream. Did you have a personal favorite, including, oh, hold on, I have some photos to show. Yeah, there's some photos on Nelson Games. That's a good thing to shout out, because the cosplay contest was really good. I missed it in person, but you get to see some photos, and the winner was like really well deserved too, I think. Jeff put up this recap article. So this is Zomdraft, our world champ, holding the playmat. This playmat actually has like foil writing on it. This is really nice. NSG, you got to do more of that. That's really, really cool. Zomdraft was wearing headphones. I forgot to ask him in an interview what he was listening to. But yeah, winning the playmat. I think Jeff asked, like, do you have anything to say in front of everyone? And that's like a hard thing for many to do. Zomdraft says no. And I think you hear me and Izzy laughing on stream, which is really funny. This is the space. So these walls are lined with like spools of colorful thread, and this is the mezzanine. This is like the highest place you can be, or technically like the highest number of tables. This is the nicest place to play. Artist Colony is right across the side here. That's where you can buy stuff, and they had this new system in which like you fill it on a ticket and you come back and pick your stuff up, which was nice. Another shot, good old Jeff. You can't tell the difference between Jeff and Jonald when they have masks on, and luckily they're wearing two colors of shirts. Another shot of the space. Stream table is down here. This is round one. That's Cephalopod playing against Ashley. This is the space, and the table's kind of wrapped this way on numbering. Top tables at the top there too. Maybe some folks you recognize. More of the stream space. The volunteers, we had a nice little nook behind here. Shout outs to the photos of Axu sleeping with like glasses made out of wrapped in like, I don't know, paper towel to like keep the light out. It's really funny. This is a stream table. This was the mid rounds, I believe. Oh, this is a really cool matchup with the Plutus PD list. I thought that was really great. This is, you can't tell the difference between Jonald and Jeff unless they wear two different shirts. Best break of the weekend. This is Ghost Meat versus Chris Dyer, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if I've seen this matchup. Two world champs talking, nice world champs, top 8 boxes. People like those a heck of a lot. Cosplay, this is really good. One of the several Tenma clones. There's a couple Tenmas. There's a couple of the Clean Getaway red coats. Very quite nice. If you don't know Ken Tenma, I guess we should show them really quickly. How are we doing on time? I think I have to kill the stream relatively quickly, so we'll go through this quickly. But Ken Tenma, really nice. Also, Sindarin dressed up as a really nice Ken Tenma clone. This is KK, Nick Nack O'Brien, the soup chef. Really good. Amakua badge. I think I saw a couple people dressed up as the Fut with the bathrobe. Really, really cool too. This was such a good Phoenix cosplay. I think this picture might be a bit nicer. I don't know who this is, but this cosplay is killer. I think it might have been one or two Phoenixes, but the hair is just so good. Another Clean Getaway. I played against a Clean Getaway player that was working on the helmet. This was one of the done helmets, which is great. I had no idea Ghost Meat did this. It's like such a funny alter. I had our cosplay. This is from a pretty bad card called Motivation, which is just shows sad. What's his name? Exile sitting on a bench. I had no idea. I don't think anybody knew that Ghost Meat was doing this until it happened. Really, really funny. Where's my tab? Plutus cosplay, which is sick. Might end up doing this at some point next week. We'll see. Really good. And then I met so many nice people from Australia and New Zealand. Turns out they found these like cheap suits, these pink suits, and then they all imbued them with their own amount of silver duct tape. And there was just so many Bazzes walking around through the venue on Friday. Just the coolest thing to see a group of people in these pink suits. They look great. They looked really, really quite good. The Baz Brigade. There's, I think, more of them that are on this picture. Seems like there was just a ton of Bazzes. It was the whole Australia, New Zealand team. It seemed like it was very, very good. I didn't see this in person. A Holloman cosplay, really good too. Looks like we have the full skin paint there. Very good. The COS team's names are amazing. Was Maddie said something like, "Don't talk to my clone," or "my clone," or "my clone," or "my clone." The judges here also cosplayed up a bit, and you see like waiting on the side, Fut with the legs up. Really great. Nice Cyber Feeder. This is from the original core set. This is Arzon. So Cyber Feeder showed up in 2 different orientations. They flipped the card art on 2 different times that this card was released, which is a weird piece of trivia. So one way and then the other way. This is the way that I'm used to, the original core set way. Arzon went for the more modern way. Respect. And this is the winning. I don't know who these folks are, but they committed so well to it. This looked better in person than I think in this photo because the dress lit up really well. It caught the light of the LEDs in there. There's the fish in there, and they have the person in the background turning around in the aggressive trend-setting way. This is the winner. I'm not sure if I'm assuming both these players, they win, they'll have their ability to have their likeness in upcoming cards. But if you don't know this card, it's aggressive trend-setting. Just like such a good cosplay, especially getting both players in on it is just really, really great. I'm glad they won it because it's like very, very good. I don't know who are these folks? None of these are accredited with people. My favorite detail is they cast the drink at the angle. Oh yeah, you're right. The drink is like locked in there sideways. That's sick. I didn't notice that. This was great. I wish that the names of the people weren't attached to these because I don't know who to celebrate, but these are all really, really good. And then we're back. Some nice photos. We'll definitely have some more photos to look at because there's like some Google Drives that people are sharing online. Unfortunately, it is 4 o'clock, so I think I have to call the stream here. But I was hyped how many people you saw in cosplay just on Friday playing at COS. People really engaged with it. And the prize was really good, but I think just the excuse to come out and dress in like goofy cyberpunk stuff is like kind of worth the entrance. That's it. That is mostly the Worlds recap. There's definitely things I missed that I'm gonna feel bad in hindsight because it's hard to tell, 4 days, 5 days of story, but I'd do it again. Worlds is a huge success. I'd definitely do it again. And so much of it was also like just the amount of nice people who came up to say hi and to have conversations. And I got a lot of really nice gifts from folks, which I'll be able to shout out for the next little near future. But yeah, I mean, Worlds was good. Just Airbnb was great. I wish I spent more days in Edinburgh, that's for sure. I wish I didn't get sick on the way back, but that's how it'd be. I think that's gonna be it. Worlds 2 in my house next weekend. Turn up, y'all. I mean, is it in startup or is it standard? Huge thank you to all these names here and more that support the Métropole Grid and actually supporting me going to Worlds this year. I'll be honest. I have officially shut down the degree mill as of last weekend, so I need to re-export this. I refunded everyone degree mill lessons. I believe that is required refunds. If you're a degree mill patron and you did not get a response from me and you're owed lessons, hit me up and I'll refund that. But I believe I did a good job refunding everyone for the last couple months of degree mill that was kind of on hiatus. But shout out to all these names here and more that support the Métropole Grid so we can continue doing the thing here that we are doing. Oh my God, I met so many of these people in person. It was so nice. But we'll be back on Thursday doing a stream. Maybe Pat will be here. That'll be nice. But we'll be back to some regular content. We're going to be putting out some more video content. I might do a video talking about the new upcoming cards from the new set Vantage Point, which is a nice talking point. Hey, Tron. Yeah, good to see you as well. Unfortunately, we're shutting down here. We've been streaming for about, I think, 4 hours. Next time for sure. But yeah, if you want to support the channel, you can find the Patreon below. If you want to just leave a like on the video, a comment, that also helps a heck of a lot. I need to catch up on a whole bunch of YouTube comments. But yeah, Worlds was a massive success. Sorry we couldn't stream on Thursday, but super glad to be back to talk about it because it is absolutely infectious. If you want to prepare for Worlds next year, you kind of know when it's going to be. It's going to be in this time in October, maybe a week earlier. But if you can make plans for it, I promise you it's worth it to start doing it now. Get well. Thank you, Turdock. That's mostly it. We'll see you on Thursday, huh? Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. There's a whole bunch of content too. I'll try and link in the description where other folks have done streams to talk about their Worlds experience. Shout out to Axu for dying to the same bite. That was sick. Best game that was the whole weekend. Unfortunately, it was on a Thursday. Yeah, wasn't televised. Take care, y'all.